Chapter 380. Yilantian and the two elders behind him boarded the carriage. Very quickly. The two elders looked at each other and simultaneously condensed a ray of yuan power light in front of them. With their strength, they were able to collect the elements on the scene and analyze the power of the scene. After analyzing, they could roughly sense the situation at the scene. The two of them joined hands and swiftly released the elements that they had gathered earlier. Immediately, they condensed into a ray of light in front of them. Within this light vortex, one could clearly see a ball of red yuan power rapidly pulsating. Not good. The two black-clothed elders immediately shouted when they saw this. Then, they pulled Yilantian and jumped down from the carriage. Boom! Yilantian's carriage was blown to smithereens in the middle of the street. Even the horse in front of the carriage was blown to smithereens. Seeing this scene, the two elders' eyes flashed with a cold light. Even with their strength, they were still made a fool of. What we can be sure of is that that person is also a Yuan King elite. The elder in black robes said in a deep voice. Yilantian stared at the broken carriage with a ferocious expression on his face. No matter who it was, he had to capture the culprit. Not only did the culprit make him his enemy, but the culprit also did it under such circumstances. Yilantian's life would also be taken away. If he had not dodged quickly enough, he would have been seriously injured by the chaotic elemental energy. Very good. You actually dared to provoke my Yi family. I want to see how deep you can hide. How many lives do you have to make an enemy out of me? Yilantian said coldly. Then, he secretly returned to the Yi mansion. Since Yilantian did this, it meant that he was not afraid of him. There were not many people who dared to disregard Yilantian's prestige in Sacred Flame Royal City. He did not believe that he could not find Yilantian. Moreover, his two sons had been killed by Yilantian. If he did not take revenge, Yilantian's position as the head of the judicial division would be useless. Before Li Zhongjiu left, he had left a trick up his sleeve among the elements at the scene. As long as the elements were gathered together, they would form a powerful bomb. If one's reaction was not fast enough, even Yilantian would be severely injured by the explosion. This was Li Zhongjiu's strength. Furthermore, only Yuan monarchs had the ability to reverse the flow of the elements. Now that Li Zhongjiu had defended himself, they naturally knew that the person who had made this move had to be a Yuan monarch elite. This was because only Yuan monarch-level powerhouses could master the esoteric power within. At this moment, Li Zhongjiu, who was in his room, opened his eyes. Li Zhongjiu took the opportunity to investigate the other party's situation while the other party was using elemental backtracking. Two Yuan King-level elites, but it's useless no matter how much you prepare. Li Zhongjiu had no intention of giving his opponent a chance to fight back. That night, his figure once again took advantage of the darkness to rush out. Swoosh! Li Zhongjiu's figure landed on a tree trunk in a courtyard. The dark energy in this courtyard was heavy, so he used the hidden dragon technique to conceal his aura. When he saw that the moving figures below were gradually becoming fewer, he followed the flow of the air and jumped onto the balcony of the second floor of the three-story building in front of him. Voila, the sound of flowing water could be heard. Yi Ruhan had a habit of cultivating a kind of cold technique. In addition, some of the things he dealt with were also the extremely cold side of human nature. Therefore, Yi Ruhan would take a bath at night and soak his body in warm medicinal water to maintain his fair and tender skin. During this process, she did not allow anyone to disturb her. A few days ago, second brother came to me specifically and asked me to help him kill someone called Beiho Liang. Furthermore, he also asked me to establish some connections in White Blaze Mountain. It seems that the person he wants to kill is someone called Li Zhongjiu. No matter how you look at these two people, they are just trash. Beiho Liang had been easily dealt with, but it seemed that Li Zhongjiu had come back alive. Li Zhongjiu was born in a lowly position, so he would not be noticed by the major forces. So what if he entered Heavenly Star Medicine Manor? There were so many people entering Heavenly Star Medicine Manor every year, so it was not strange. As long as they casually checked and found that Li Zongjiu was just a trash young master from a mediocre city, they would lose all interest. It was not that they looked down on people from remote areas, but it was because of the environment and the restrictions of the realm, so it was difficult to produce any talents. Just like Luoxia City, just a Yuan General Realm cultivator could be called a tyrant. In this royal city, a Yuan General Realm cultivator was only fit to be a gatekeeper. This was the most basic gap. Of course, if you chose to stay in a place like Luoxia City, you would be like this for the rest of your life and would not have any higher achievements. Therefore, people like Li Zongjiu could only be considered lucky to be able to come to Sacred Flame Royal City to experience it. However, this matter is definitely related to Li Zongjiu. Tomorrow, I will bring him out and interrogate him. I will definitely be able to get some information out of him. Yi Ruhan thought as she soaked in the bath. She scooped up a handful of water from the bucket and let it slide down her arm. She had to admit that a woman's intuition was quite accurate. On a branch. Suddenly, Yi Ruhan heard a trace of movement, and her eyes suddenly became sharp. Who is it? Yi Ruhan said coldly. Li Zongjiu did not hesitate and directly opened the curtain and walked in. Looking at Yi Ruhan, who was still in the bathtub, the corners of his mouth hooked up into a trace of an evil smile. Who are you? How dare you? Your figure is not bad, but you are a little old. Oh. A little saggy? Li Zongjiu glanced at her and said teasingly. Hearing Li Zongjiu's teasing, Yi Ruhan's face suddenly became as cold as frost. You're courting death. Yi Ruhan slammed her palm on the bathtub, and the water in the bathtub suddenly whistled out like a huge wave, rolling towards Li Zongjiu. At the same time, her figure quickly swept to the side. Just as she was about to reach out and grab her clothes, she saw a flame burning on her clothes. Boom! Her clothes directly turned into nothingness. Seeing this scene, Yi Ruhan's face was also filled with shock. He turned around and immediately saw a figure approaching him. Swish! The throwing knife in Li Zongjiu's hand directly turned into a dagger and stabbed into Yi Ruhan's white and tender throat. Oh! Yi Ruhan's eyes widened and her naked body suddenly straightened. She didn't dare to move carelessly, but when she looked at Li Zongjiu, her eyes were filled with disbelief. He was actually here to kill her. Yi Ruhan didn't have time to think. Death came too suddenly. The strength of the person who came was far above her. At this moment, she didn't dare to move. Her throat was pierced, but there was no blood flowing out. She could only stare at Li Zongjiu in front of her and reach out to grab Li Zongjiu's collar. You! Who are you? Li Zongjiu smiled faintly. Then, with a light slash of the dagger in his hand, he cut off Yi Ruhan's head. After looking around the room, Li Zongjiu directly threw Yi Ruhan's head into the bathtub. Now, more than half of the bathtub's water was left. Yi Ruhan's head sank into the bathtub. He wiped off the bloodstains on his hand. Li Zongjiu's figure also quietly left Yi Ruhan's residence. Even after he left, no one in Yi Ruhan's mansion had discovered that Yi Ruhan had died. It had only been less than a month. Yi Lantian's one daughter and two sons were all taken away by someone else. And the person who took their lives was Li Zongjiu. Yi Lantian would never have dreamed that the person who killed his two sons and one daughter would be a young man from a small city in the countryside. At this moment, the lives of the aristocrats in Monarch City were no longer in their own hands. If Li Zongjiu wanted to, he could quietly kill more than 90% of the people in the city. Even if you had a Yuan monarch powerhouse protecting you, Li Zongjiu could only kill you if he wanted you dead. Chapter 381. The sky was still dark. The news of another death quickly spread to the Yi mansion. When Yi Lantian heard the news, it was said that he immediately vomited 3 liters of blood. His eyes were bloodshot and his face was deathly pale. It was said that on that day, because Yilantian accidentally saw them, he directly killed more than 20 servants in the Yi residence. He killed almost all of them along the way. Yilantian's 3 children, whom he had painstakingly raised, had all lost their lives. Moreover, each of them had died in a more tragic manner than the last. No one dared to believe it. You want to destroy the Yi family? Then, the Yi family will change the weather of Monarch City. Of course, Li Zongjiu didn't know how Yilantian felt and he didn't care. When he woke up the next day, Li Zongjiu prepared to apply for leave and make a trip to the Moon Wolf Howling Valley. This was a good place to train his mental energy and it was also a good place to increase his origin energy. However, before he could walk out of the dormitory building, he was stopped by Ling Yan who rushed out to stop him. Li Zongjiu. Ling Yan called out to Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu was surprised to see Ling Yan so early in the morning. Although Li Zongjiu had killed an instructor and was Ling Yan's enemy for many years, Ling Yan was still a little fearful of Li Zongjiu. If he accidentally offended Li Zongjiu one day, he would be killed. Therefore, he had to be careful when interacting with this guy. It's you. It's you. What do you mean it's you? I'm your class teacher, okay? How can you use such a strange tone to say that I can't? Seeing that you're so powerful, I'll bear with it. I'll bear with it. Let me ask you. You haven't received a title from the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, right? No. Li Zongjiu replied. Do you want to take the fast lane? Ling Yan looked at Li Zongjiu and asked. In his heart, he was thinking, come and beg me. Beg me and I'll take you to the fast lane. Ha ha ha. I don't. Li Zongjiu said directly. The Heavenly Pill Pavilion was a title, but to Li Zongjiu, it was equivalent to trash. What was the use of it? Don't you know how big of an impact the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's evaluation title has on an alchemist? Ling Yan was shocked. In this world, there were actually people who were so indifferent to fame and fortune. If one could obtain the recognition of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, it could even be said that all alchemists worked so hard in order to obtain a certificate from the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Once you obtained this certificate, if you could become a level 5 alchemist, then in the Shengyan dynasty, you would enjoy the same treatment as a level 5 minister in the imperial court. This level of authority was almost equivalent to that of a prefecture's governor. Of course, in terms of authority, it was impossible for him to have such great authority. After all, it was just an empty title. However, at the very least, he still had such a reputation. When he arrived at the prefecture chief would come to welcome him. There wouldn't be any problems. Therefore, if the path of an examiner wasn't smooth enough, then he could try the path of an alchemist. Moreover, if he had other skills, it could add points to his official career. Alchemists above level 5 even had the opportunity to enter the imperial palace. If he could become a consecrator of the imperial palace, then he would have reached the peak of the realm. Not only would he not have to worry about food and clothing, but he would also enjoy great authority. At the very least, when the masters of the major forces in the world saw him, they would have to salute him. The temptation of such authority was hard to resist as long as one was a cultivator. However, Li Zongjiu's face was full of indifference. It seemed that no matter what Ling Yan said today, he wouldn't be interested. I know, but I don't need it. Is there anything else? Li Zongjiu asked. Ling Yan stopped him early in the morning to ask these questions. If it wasn't for the fact that Ling Yan was quite protective of him a few days ago, he wouldn't have said so many things to him. Time was very precious. Even if you don't need it, there's nothing we can do. The Heavenly Pill Pavilion has organized an alchemy competition. Even our academy has to give face. Now, we need to select a few people. You and Kun Erisher have been appointed, so you must go. Ling Yan said. A person with great ability would have a big temper. Therefore, Ling Yan wanted to tempt Li Zongjiu with benefits. However, if that didn't work, then he could only resort to coercion. What competition? Are you kidding me? You actually want me to go? Li Zongjiu had already shown his strength. Could it be that these people were all blind? What he meant was that he was already so powerful, yet they still wanted him to participate in this kind of competition for children. Yes, don't say that I didn't take care of you. In this competition, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion will reward whoever gets first place with an Imperial Alchemist qualification certificate. What book? Li Zongjiu had never heard of anything like an Imperial Alchemist. Moreover, he, Li Zongjiu, needed an Imperial Alchemist to concoct pills. What a joke. Therefore, Li Zongjiu had never taken it seriously. Just as Li Zongjiu was about to leave and stop being entangled with Ling Yan, Ling Yan said once again. An Imperial Alchemist has the right to open his own alchemy lecture hall. In other words, you can choose a place to become your fief. It will become the place where you establish your own sect. Li Zongjiu, who was about to leave, couldn't help but stop in his tracks. From the sound of it, it seemed a little interesting. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu's cultivation had reached the Supreme Being realm. In the Shengyan dynasty, he was fearless and could be said to be unrestrained. However, Li Zongjiu still maintained a friendly relationship with the Shengyan dynasty. He didn't fall out with the other party. This was because Li Zongjiu also knew that the Shengyan dynasty's ability wasn't so simple. For now, if Li Zongjiu could obtain a fief in the Shengyan dynasty, then he would take down Luoxia city. This way, Luoxia city would become Li Zongjiu's territory. He would have the right to form his own army. Li Zongjiu wanted his clan to be powerful. If he could obtain this title and bring it back, it would be a guarantee for Luoxia city. Obviously, this Ling Yan had done his homework and knew what Li Zongjiu wanted. If it was beneficial to him, Li Zongjiu didn't care at all. Because the latter's strength was here. Basically, if he wanted to get something, it was only a matter of time. The most important thing was that Li Zongjiu only had cultivation in his eyes. However, if it was beneficial to Luoxia city, then Li Zongjiu would definitely take it into consideration and wouldn't directly ignore it. Li Zongjiu glanced at Ling Yan. When is the competition? Li Zongjiu asked indifferently. Ling Yan also smiled in his heart. He had a feeling that his evil plan had succeeded. However, on the surface, he still looked calm. You didn't want to go just now. Then, I can only watch and give the opportunity to others. Sigh, this kind of thing is already in the bag. After saying that, Ling Yan still looked very regretful and wanted to leave. However, he was stopped by Li Zongjiu. I will take the first 2 places. I guarantee that Kun Erisher will also participate. Okay, it's a deal. The competition will be held 5 days later. However, it's not our home ground. We have to go to the Four Seas Medicine Mansion. Anywhere is fine. Li Zongjiu didn't care. Okay, we will gather in the morning 5 days later. During this time, you can move freely. Oh right, you have to be careful during this time. The city is not very peaceful. Ling Yan reminded. Although the undercurrent in King City was very fierce, recently there seemed to be several forces that were spreading to some of the higher-ups. Even some of the higher-ups were not spared. For such a big storm to appear for no reason, it was obviously very surprising. Oh. Li Zongjiu replied. Looking at the latter's indifferent expression, Ling Yan didn't know what to say. Moreover, it seemed that he couldn't win against this guy. Oh right, do you know Beiho Liang? That guy is also from Black North Giant City. Recently, he has gone missing. I suspect that something has happened to him and the Medicine Manor is now investigating. I've seen him. Li Zongjiu said. Beiho Liang's death was a very normal thing. This guy was only able to live until now because of Li Zongjiu's good fortune. Otherwise, his corpse would have long been left in the wilderness. I don't know who this kid has offended. Oh right, I'll leave Kun Erasure to you. If you can't handle it, I'll destroy you. Ling Yan said. Obviously, he attached great importance to Li Zongjiu. He had to personally make a trip over such a matter. However, the main reason was that Ling Yan had no one else to order around. Furthermore, Ling Yan also realized that even if he were to personally make a move, it might not be enough. This guy is getting harder and harder to deal with. No, I have to think of a way. Li Zongjiu actually left so arrogantly. Ling Yan could be said to have a big headache when dealing with this strange guy. Chapter 382. When Dong Shuntian arrived at Yi Rohan's residence, he looked at Yi Rohan's corpse and covered it with a towel. He almost couldn't believe it. After all, Yi Rohan held the position of guard captain in the 3 divisions and 13 guards. Who knew how many influential people in the city had been directly sent to the blood prison by Yi Rohan and taught them to be obedient? Although she looked like a beautiful woman, she had an extremely fierce reputation in Royal City. Basically, anyone who could hold a position in the 13 guards was not to be trifled with. Ordinary people simply couldn't withstand the ruthless methods she had mastered. Compared to the 2 good-for-nothing sons of the Yi clan, Yi Rohan's achievements could be said to be rather dazzling. If Yi Rohan wasn't a woman, she would probably have been fully supported by Yi Lantian. But now, even the extremely outstanding Yi Rohan had been directly killed. Furthermore, it had happened in his own residence. The successive events made Dong Shuntian's heart extremely solemn and complicated. This attack was completely targeted at the Yi clan. As a member of the Special Envoy Department, Dong Shuntian naturally knew that this matter had nothing to do with the Sima family. If it had really been the Sima family who had done such a thing, the city would have been turned upside down and a civil war would have broken out. Such a dangerous situation was something that no one would dare to do. Although one's power was monstrous, it didn't mean that one could really cover the sky with one hand. If the imperial family wanted to deal with them, they basically only needed to say a word. No matter how much trouble they caused, they were still just a small grasshopper in front of the imperial family. This time, Yi Lantian arrived early and left early as well. How could Yi Lantian not be angry under this situation? It was said that he had already started a massacre in his own residence. Dong Shuntian surveyed the scene. There was not the slightest trace of a fight at all. The entire assassination process could be said to have been as smooth as flowing water. There wasn't the slightest bit of superfluity. Assassins from the Rain Pavilion? Impossible. Even if the Rain Pavilion had accepted such a task, they wouldn't dare to be so brazen. The first to be eliminated was the Rain Pavilion. Even one of the stewards of the Heavenly Rain Pavilion had already informed their Lord Su Yen that this matter had nothing to do with them. They would not accept it and would not compromise. They would not allow any dirty water to be poured on them. If the Celestial Rain Pavilion came out and said that they didn't know anything, then it was most likely the Celestial Rain Pavilion's doing. However, if the Rain Pavilion took the initiative to come out and say that it wasn't them, then it wouldn't be them. After all, there was no need for them to lie. Right, that guy. Why didn't I think of that? Dong Shuntian's eyes flashed. In fact, this matter was not simple from the beginning. It could even be said that it had started a long time ago. And all of this could be traced back to one place. This was something that he had neglected from the very beginning. Go. Captain, where are we going? A place that I almost overlooked. Dong Shuntian took his men and chased after a manor in the suburbs. However, there were no traces of people in the manor at all. Go and find out where the owner of this manor is. The construction of every manor had to be approved. Moreover, there were records in all the major departments. Even if there was a change in ownership, they would be able to find it very quickly. Yes. Dong Shuntian dismissed his men. They couldn't simply barge into an empty house. After all, they hadn't obtained the approval yet. If they had a search warrant, they could just barge in. Dong Shuntian saw a manor nearby. The two were very close. He walked up and knocked on the door. "Who are you?" Yao Lei looked at the man in front of her. She didn't recognize him, so she didn't look too good. Her cold expression gave off a feeling that she was 1,000 miles away from people. Dong Shuntian saw that Yao Lei had an otherworldly temperament. It was rare to see a woman so untainted by worldly affairs. "I am Dong Shuntian, the special envoy from Monarch City. I am investigating a case nearby. Do you know the owner of the manor in the front yard?" Waving the special envoy token in her hand, Yao Lei opened the door. She wasn't afraid of any problems in broad daylight. During this period of time, Yao Lei had been going to the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor every day. However, the content of the lessons made Yao Lei feel extremely pressured. Therefore, she chose to rest at home today. She wanted to digest the knowledge that she had learned before. After all, this level of learning was indeed strenuous for Yao Lei. It wasn't just Yao Lei. Even the majority of the students couldn't bear this level of learning. Only a few geniuses could master it. Yao Lei had also heard many rumors about Li Zongjiu. What shocked him the most was his alchemy battle with instructor Hu Fei yesterday. In the process of the battle, he killed Hu Fei directly. Yao Lei couldn't imagine what the scene was like. However, based on her interactions with Li Zongjiu, Yao Lei knew that Hu Fei had gone too far. Therefore, Li Zongjiu killed him. Could it be that he was here to investigate instructor Hu Fei? However, as a guest, Yao Lei invited Dong Shuntian into the house and asked the servant to prepare a cup of tea. "The front yard used to belong to my family. I later sold it to a friend called Li Zongjiu. He's a disciple of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor." Yao Lei said. Li Zongjiu, Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor. The first person to investigate the murder case wasn't Dong Shuntian. However, Dong Shuntian had seen the file before. According to the file, the assassin that Yi Guxing had hired appeared in the courtyard. It wasn't difficult to deduce that the owner of the courtyard had a grudge with Yi Guxing. Originally, the owner of the courtyard was a little suspicious. After all, the time of Yi Guxing's death was too close. He had just sent an assassin to your house and died not long after. However, after the death of Yi Guiyue and Yi Rohan. Basically, it had nothing to do with Li Zongjiu. Even if he had the guts, he didn't have the strength to do so. He was just a teenager. Could it be that he was really a monster that could defy the heavens? However, Dong Shuntian always felt that there was something unusual about this matter. That was why he came to find Li Zongjiu. However, looking at Yao Lei in front of him, Dong Shuntian's heart was a little restless. It was difficult for him to concentrate. Therefore, Dong Shuntian chose to leave. "I've already understood enough. I'll take my leave first." Dong Shuntian stood up and said. Yao Lei also asked someone to send Dong Shuntian out. Could it be that Li Zongjiu did something again? However, Yao Lei was now clear. Li Zongjiu wasn't a 4th-grade alchemist at all. He was a 5th-grade alchemist. Some time ago, when he refined a 5th-grade mid-grade elixir, many people were shocked. Dong Shuntian also found out that Li Zongjiu had refined a 5th-grade elixir. In his heart, he thought even more highly of Li Zongjiu. It wouldn't be surprising if such a young grade 5 alchemist could have killed Yi Guxing or Yi Guiyue without anyone noticing. However, there was still the corpse of a Yuan monarch in Yi Guiyue's residence. It would be an exaggeration to say that Li Zongjiu had been able to kill a Yuan monarch. Being able to concoct a grade 5 elixir pill was already a cheat. Now, even his Yuan energy was comparable to that of a Yuan monarch elite. Naturally, no matter how talented a person was, he would still need time to settle down. Even if Dong Shuntian had some doubts about Li Zongjiu, he would never believe that Li Zongjiu was an alchemy and martial arts dual cultivator. Wasn't this too abnormal? Perhaps it was because of jealousy, so Dong Shuntian gave up on investigating Li Zongjiu and continued to focus on Yu Ruhan. Since Yu Ruhan had been killed in his own residence, there had to be a spy in this matter. First, he would investigate all the members of Yu Ruhan's residence. Let's go to the Sirius Moon Howling Valley. Li Zongjiu directly contracted a Sky Shaker ship in the city. Anyway, he would only use it this time. The Sky Shaker ship was indeed very fast. If he wanted to buy it privately, he would have to go through a lot of complicated procedures. This Sky Shaker ship could even be used as a strategic resource. Once the Sky Shaker ship was filled with weapons, in that case, attacking a city would only take a few minutes. Therefore, the Sky Shaker ship used by civilians for transportation had to go through a strict examination before it could be contracted by private individuals. Li Zongjiu's residence was a family that specialized in transportation. Regardless of whether it was delivering goods or people, their mission was accomplished. Behind the development of this business, there was also a big family supporting it. The Jiang family, one of the 4 great families, mainly developed this business. To be able to develop their own family to such a scale in Royal City, they had to have a strong background. Otherwise, they would have been divided up by other factions. The Jiang family was mainly in the transportation business. During times of war, even the escorting of military provisions was handled by the Jiang family. This showed how strong the Jiang family's background was. Chapter 383. The small Sky Shaker ship rose into the air and rushed towards the Moon Wolf Howling Valley with Li Zongjiu. The Moon Wolf Howling Valley was located in Yangzhou. Yangzhou was a place with good feng shui. However, due to the fertile soil, everyone was strong and it was easy to cause all kinds of trouble. Therefore, bandits and robbers were a very prosperous profession in Yangzhou. Everyone was rich, so naturally, there were many bad guys. However, when they saw the Jiang family's sky-shaking ship, the bandits in this region basically did not dare to provoke them. However, there were some places where the bandits themselves could be very valiant. In some special places, their true colors as bandits would also be displayed incisively and vividly. When you came to their territory, the bandits would not dare to provoke them. Even if you were a tiger, you had to hide and obediently pay the money. Brother, this is the Moon Wolf Howling Valley. Let me remind you that there are many bandits around here. Keep your eyes open. 3 days later, I will be waiting for you here on time. Thank you. Li Zongjiu said. Alright, then sit tight. I am going to land. In the end, before this person could finish his words, he saw the cabin door being opened. Then, Li Zongjiu directly leaped and jumped down. Fuck, why is this guy so bold? Is he here to extort me? If something happened to Li Zongjiu while he was on the Sky Shaker ship, he would have to compensate for it. However, from the looks of it, there shouldn't be any problem. Li Zongjiu didn't seem to be weak. The Sky Shaker ship did not approach the Moon Wolf Howling Valley's territory. After all, there were some extremely dangerous airflows and forces in the Moon Wolf Howling Valley, which could easily affect the Sky Shaker ship. Therefore, it only stopped at the edge of the area. Li Zongjiu's figure landed at the edge of the Howling Moon Forest with a boom. As soon as he landed, he heard the sound of fighting not far away. Hee, drag this hot little girl back. TSK, TSK. She is so tender. My heart is itching just by looking at her. An extremely wretched voice was heard. At the same time, there were some clanging sounds of fighting. Xiao Fu, hurry up and leave. We will block them. A man's voice sounded anxious but firm. No, if we leave together. If we die together. That girl named Xiaofu had an extremely strong personality. She was not moved at all. Similar scenes of robbers happened almost every day. Most of the time, they would just steal some money, but if they saw a pretty girl on the road, they would not hesitate to bring her back. Money and women were their lives. The surrounding bandits had already taken control of the situation. When Li Zongjiu heard the commotion, he walked towards the source of the commotion. He discovered that a group of bandits were attacking 5 people. There were 3 men and 2 women. Looking at the clothes on these people, they should be the disciples of some nearby sect. They came down the mountain to train and encountered such a thing. How dare you attack our Ding Tian sect? Are you tired of living? In a moment, the experts of our Ding Tian sect will come and kill you all. An older man said in a deep voice. Judging from his appearance, he should be the leader of this group. He should be at the level of an elder or a deacon. After all, the clothes on his body were somewhat different. I was wondering. So it's the people of the Ding Tian sect. We can't possibly let you elders enjoy all these tender girls. Can't we have some fun too? Look at this little girl. It seems like she hasn't opened her bag yet. I'm getting a little excited. People of the Heavenly Dog Gang, listen up. Chop off the men's limbs and leave the women alive. I want to show them what a good show is. The leader of the Heavenly Dog Gang roared. This time, he had brought more than 50 men with him. In such a desolate place. The most important thing was to have more people. Whoever had more people would be more awesome. If you were not convinced, you could come and try. The leader of the Heavenly Dog Gang was only the second in command. People in the underworld gave him face and called him Ergo. While Ergo peeled peanuts, he watched the 5 people struggle on the verge of death. His heart was filled with excitement. He wanted to make these guys jump around in front of him and then die in despair. That was the only fun he could have. A figure walked into Ergo's line of sight. Why is there another person over there? Go, I like his head. Chop it off and let me kick it like a ball. Ergo pointed at the man who was walking over. He seemed to be a little excited. He seemed to be happy that he had finally found a ball of the right size. The 5 people of the Ding Tian sect, who were fighting hard and waiting for reinforcements, saw Li Zongjiu appear. Little brother, it's dangerous here. Run quickly. The girl called Xiaofu hurriedly shouted at Li Zongjiu. If he took another step forward, these people would definitely not let Li Zongjiu go. Brother Ergo said to chop his head off and kick it like a ball. Suddenly, 2 people separated from the group of bandits and rushed towards Li Zongjiu. Whoever took the head would probably be rewarded. Hence, they rushed forward directly. There's a chance. Let's break out of the encirclement while the little guy is distracted. However, the man from the Ding Tian sect growled and rushed in the opposite direction. He wanted to use this opportunity to break out of the encirclement and escape. Xiaofu couldn't bear to see a young man like Li Zongjiu being cruelly killed by these people. However, her senior brother directly pulled her back. Let's go. We can't do anything about this person. The other girl also pulled Xiaofu and rushed towards the opening. However, it seemed that they didn't succeed. In an instant, they were surrounded by a group of bandits. They couldn't escape. Li Zongjiu faced the 2 people who rushed up and casually waved his finger. Immediately, the 2 people's bodies exploded on the spot. Boom! Boom! Their bodies exploded into a pile of minced meat and fell to the ground with a thud. Some of the bandits were furious when they saw their companions die. They rushed forward and chopped down on Li Zongjiu's head with their long swords. Boom! Their bodies exploded. Anyone who got close to Li Zongjiu would have their bodies explode inexplicably. After 7 or 8 people died in succession, the bandits finally realized that something was wrong. Among their dead companions, there was no lack of experts. Most importantly, they didn't even know how they died. They couldn't tell at all. What's going on? How could Ergo tolerate the loss of 7 people before even touching the other party? He immediately scattered the peanut shells on the ground. Bring me my sword. I don't believe that in the territory of the Heavenly Go Gang, even if you crawled out of hell, I'll send you back to hell. Immediately, a long sword appeared in his hand. Li Zongjiu stopped. He seemed to be holding a flame lotus in his hand. Obsidian fire. With a flick of his finger, the flame lotus spiraled into the air. Then, the petals of the lotus trembled slightly and released a rain of fire, killing the bandits. Bang bang bang. In an instant, the scene was filled with blood. The flesh of a bandit near Xiaofu exploded. There was even a lump of internal organs on Xiaofu's body. Xiaofu was so frightened that her face turned pale. Some people didn't explode entirely. Only half of their bodies exploded. Therefore, in such a situation, even after their bodies exploded, they didn't die immediately. They looked at their broken bodies and felt the intense pain. One by one, they howled in pain. Damn, this. You guys go and hold them off. Before Go could rush down, he saw that all his subordinates were dead. How could he not know that Li Zongjiu was definitely an expert? This time, he must have provoked someone he couldn't afford to provoke. Go immediately turned around and fled. Because there was still some distance between them, he thought that there was still a chance to escape now. However, before Go could take 2 steps, he found that his body couldn't move. He was only at the Yuan general realm. How could he resist Li Zongjiu's strength? Go immediately used his mental strength to grab him and bring him in front of him. Bang! Go's body flew back. It seemed that Li Zongjiu had caught him directly. Plop! Go fell to the ground and saw Li Zongjiu's face in front of him. I hate bandits like you the most. There was a seemingly kind smile on Li Zongjiu's lips. It seemed to be comforting, but it was a demonic mark that was clearly engraved in their minds. The last thing they saw before they died was Li Zongjiu's cold smile. Even if they died, they would still have nightmares. Chapter 384. In just a few breaths, the originally ferocious and cruel bandits were all slaughtered by Li Zongjiu. After taking care of this group of people, he did not even greet them. In his previous life, what Li Zongjiu loved the most was to kill all these invasive people. Basically, as long as he saw these bandits, he would kill them directly. There was no need for so much nonsense and no need for so many reasons. Who is this person? What terrifying strength. However, the appearance of Li Zongjiu and his powerful strength also caused people to feel fear. They were even extremely wary of his strength. Could it be that this was the crazy murderous demon that came out of the wilderness? If that was the case, then they were indeed in big trouble. To think that they were targeted by such a killer. Immediately, the leading elder of the Ding Tian sect gestured for the disciples behind him to step back. With a smile on his face, he wanted to talk to Li Zongjiu. After all, it was not a bad thing to be able to make friends with a powerful young man. I'm Xie Guangyuan, an elder of the Ding Tian sect's Huiyuan Peak. These are my disciples. Thank you for saving them, young hero. Xie Guangyuan said with a smile. However, when he finished speaking, Li Zongjiu did not stop. He did not even turn his head as he walked straight into the serious Howling Moon Valley. He did not give him any face at all. This made Xie Guangyuan feel a little embarrassed. His smile stiffened on the spot. If he turned around and went back, wouldn't he be seen by his own disciples? How could he not care about him? Seeing Li Zongjiu disappear before their eyes, and then looking at the surrounding corpses, they realized that those who were not completely dead just now were basically dead by now. The stench of blood that permeated the air also told these people that this was not a dream. Such a bloody massacre had really happened just now. Xie Guangyuan returned to the group and watched as Li Zongjiu left. He actually walked directly into the direction of the Moon Howling Wolf Valley. The sky was about to turn dark. Entering the mountain at this time was tantamount to courting death. Li Zongjiu saw many adventurers who were retreating from the Howling Moon Valley along the path he took. After all, the sky was gradually darkening. If they didn't leave in time, it was very likely that they would completely die inside. This was a very tragic thing. Once, many people didn't believe in heresy, but in the end, their lives were basically devoured by the Howling Moon Valley. Countless people used that bloody lesson and price to let others know that the matters in Howling Moon Valley were not a joke. Therefore, even the most experienced hunters would retreat before the sky turned dark. If they did not come out after dark, they would not be able to leave as they wished. Young man, you can't enter the Howling Moon Valley now. Once the sky turns dark, the active wolf pack will appear. You can't go. An old man immediately advised when he saw Li Zongjiu walking towards the Howling Moon Valley. However, Li Zongjiu just waved his hand and walked straight in without even stopping. Sigh, another young man who is courting death. He doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The old hunter had seen such scenes many times. He obviously knew that this place was very dangerous, but these people still came from all directions. He didn't know where these people got their courage from, but they just loved to challenge. Even bandits didn't exist in the Howling Moon Valley. Once night fell, it would be the territory of the Howling Moon Wolves. Li Zongjiu walked in front of a stone tablet. There were 3 words engraved on the stone tablet, life and death line. Once one stepped into this life and death line, one would basically be waiting for death. This was also the line that countless people used their lives to measure over the years. Many people directly camped in a hidden place outside the life and death line, waiting to enter the Howling Moon Valley the next morning. Treasures were everywhere in the Howling Moon Valley. At the same time, one could often find a kind of ore called moonstone in the Howling Moon Valley. This ore absorbed the essence of the moon. If it was used to forge weapons, it would have a very good effect. It was also a kind of precious metal. It could often be sold at a good price in the market. These things were also constantly bought by people. The reason why so many people were attracted to this place was because of the so-called living off the mountain. The resources in the Howling Moon Valley alone were enough to feed the people in the surrounding cities and the bandits. Li Zongjiu walked in. When he crossed the life and death line, he obviously felt that the atmosphere suddenly changed. Originally, there were still some people along the way. After a little observation, he could also see some people panting. However, here, he could only feel the surrounding cold and gloomy atmosphere. What he inhaled into his body was a gust of cold air. Moreover, the night fell especially quickly. The people outside the forest looked up at the sky one after another. Looking at the incomparably clear night sky, one by one, they frowned immediately. Oh no, it's the night of the full moon again. Ask everyone to retreat another 3 miles. After seeing this scene, an adventurer team leader immediately shouted. Not only them, but everyone who was stationed here also stood up and began to move their bodies. Hurry, hurry. The moon tonight is especially round. The moon-howling heavenly wolves in the Howling Moon Valley seem to rely entirely on the spiritual chi of the moonlight to survive. Once the spiritual chi of the moonlight was particularly strong, their strength would be even stronger. During the day, they were refining the spiritual chi absorbed during the night. Therefore, it was relatively safe during the day. If the moon was too round, it would excite the moon-howl wolves, and they would roar even louder. When that happened, even those who were outside the line of life and death would be affected. If the moon-howl wolves saw this, they would immediately pounce on them. The smell of blood would also make these beasts excited. Therefore, these people were also moving quickly. We'll rest here tonight. Tomorrow, I'll bring you into the Howling Moon Valley. The mission of the 4 of you is to find a moonstone and bring it back. Yes, Elder. Xiaofu and the others said with a serious expression. Xie Guangyuan nodded with satisfaction. This time, it was indeed an accident. They actually encountered these bandits as soon as they left the mountain. However, there was nothing to be afraid of. When one came out to roam the Jianghu, one would always encounter such situations. It would also let these arrogant disciples know the importance of strength. Then, they would work even harder to cultivate. "Elder, the person who saved us just now, is he here too?" Xiaofu could not help but ask. Among the two female disciples, Xiaofu was only a little over 17 years old. She had the appearance of a lotus flower emerging from the water. The other female disciple was slightly older. She was around 26 or 27 years old. Although her face was not as pure as Xiaofu's. However, her figure was the type that many middle-aged men liked. It should be. However, there are rumors recently that a Howling Moon Wolf King is about to be born in the Howling Moon Valley. I don't know if it's true. The reason why there are so many people around is to wait for the Howling Moon Wolf King to break through and find the teeth of the Howling Moon Wolf King. That is a top material that can be used to forge divine weapons. Howling Moon Wolf King. When they heard this name, a trace of surprise flashed across the eyes of all the disciples. At their age, they always thought that they had many possibilities in the future. Even when they rode on the back of the Howling Moon Wolf King and roamed the world, it was not strange at all. However, as their strength increased and the things they came into contact with became more and more real, they would not be able to do anything. They would slowly realize how foolish and naive they were back then. The Howling Moon Wolf King was a rank 5 origin beast. A woo. The first wolf howl rang out, followed by a series of wolf howls in the distance. The people outside the life and death line had already retreated 3 miles away. However, the howls were so clear that it seemed like the howling god was right in front of them. They had no choice but to retreat a little further. The furthest people had already retreated 5 miles away. When Li Zongjiu heard the howls, he had already witnessed the power of the Howling Moon Valley. After the first howl, Li Zongjiu realized that he was surrounded by nearly 20 Howling Moon wolves. Under the pitch-black darkness, they stared at Li Zongjiu with a pair of terrifying eyes. Even Li Zongjiu felt a chill run down his spine. A woo. However, a deep roar came from the distance and attracted the attention of the moonhowl wolves in the surroundings. As if they were on a pilgrimage, Li Zongjiu stood on the spot and saw the forest behind him rushing out continuously. The entire ground was shaking and howling. Rumble. Rumble. Like 10,000 horses galloping, some Howling Moon wolves clearly saw Li Zongjiu, but they pretended not to see him and continued to rush forward. Rumble. The ground was shaking non-stop. All the wolves gathered at the foot of a mountain. They lifted their heads and looked at the muscular figure on the mountain peak. The moon in the sky was so close to the ground that it gave people the feeling that they could touch it if they reached out. Wolf King. Li Zongjiu had also walked to the edge of the forest. At this moment, a vigorous energy suddenly rose from the ground. It was as if tens of thousands of sharp arrows had shot towards the heavens, shooting towards the sky. The entire sky was shaking. The strong force was reflected back and landed on the ground again. At this moment, Li Zongjiu also realized why this force was so strong. Why did this Howling Moon Valley have such a name of death? Boom! 10,000 wolves howled together. Li Zongjiu's figure was instantly sent flying by the shockwave formed by the mind power. Chapter 385. Li Zongjiu was dumbfounded when he got up from the ground. It wasn't that Li Zongjiu wanted to make such an expression, but that Li Zongjiu's mind power had been severely impacted, causing his thoughts to be in a mess. However, he quickly stabilized his condition. It's really quite powerful. Just now, Li Zongjiu had been sent flying at least 500 meters away. In other words, anyone within 500 meters would die. Even someone like Li Zongjiu wouldn't be able to get close. Let's give it a try then. Li Zongjiu did not summon the white dragon origin spirit. After all, what he needed to do now was to temper his mind power. Only by tempering his mind power could he strengthen it. Only by strengthening his mind power could he help Li Zongjiu hold on in the Genius Tower. So far, more than 2 months had passed. If he didn't hurry up, it would be very difficult. There wasn't much time left for Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu recited the white god Fu in his heart as he slowly walked towards the forest and towards the canyon. When the countless wolf howls invaded Li Zongjiu's mind, it was as if countless wolves were trying to devour him, constantly tearing at his mind power. However, Li Zongjiu also opened up his mind power to the maximum extent. With the flying blade, Li Zongjiu only needed a little time to recover his mind power. Roar! Crack! Li Zongjiu sat on the spot, enduring the pain of being bitten by thousands of wolves. Although it was only his mind power, the degree of pain wasn't much less than what his body was enduring. It could even be said that this mind power attack made him feel like he was about to collapse. If he couldn't hold on, Hai Tsang would go berserk, or his mind power would be completely devoured and become nourishment for these moonhowl wolves. Outside the life and death line, the aura of the Wolf King gradually spread out. Some of the older people couldn't help but frown. One must know that the Wolf King did not exist in the Moonwolf Howling Valley before this. Moreover, it had practically become a forbidden area for the human race during the Moonwolf Howling Valley. Now that another Wolf King had appeared, no one knew what would happen. It would definitely be a disaster for the people in the surroundings. The last time a Wolf King appeared was 300 years ago. The birth of another Wolf King this time will definitely be a disaster. In the future, the Moonhowl Valley might not be safe. It might be even more dangerous. Hence, the veteran adventurers began to worry. In fact, they were worried that the Howling Moon Wolf King would lead so many werewolves out of the Howling Moon Valley to plunder territories everywhere. Even the human cities would not be able to withstand the Howling Moon Wolf King's attack. What a strong aura. It really has an aura that looks down on the world. Xiaofu was also standing on a mountain and looking at the moon in the distance. Even though she could not see it, she could clearly feel a wave of energy gathering. This wave of energy belonged to the Howling Moon Wolf King's kingly aura. If there was someone who could tame such a meta beast, it would probably be a peak king. Junior sister Xiaofu, it's dangerous up there. Come down quickly. Luo Hao shouted at Xiaofu. I'm coming. Xiaofu said and jumped down. Luo Hao had a good impression of Xiaofu and thought that he was going to succeed. After all, his performance this afternoon was not bad. In the hearts of the girls, he must be a hero. However, Xiaofu seemed to have changed into a different person after seeing Li Zongjiu descending from the sky. Until now, she didn't know what to do. She must have been seduced by that brat. Damn it, where did that damn brat come from? Luo Hao couldn't help but clench his fist. After all, the girls worshipped heroes. Li Zongjiu's cold and arrogant aura completely attracted Xiaofu. If it was possible, she would have been willing to run away with Li Zongjiu. Fortunately, that brat entered the Howling Moon Valley. It would be best if he was eaten by the Wolf King directly. Luo Hao thought in his heart. That way, he would be able to vent his anger. In the Howling Moon Valley, Li Zongjiu had already moved his body to within 200 meters of the Wolf King's territory. Compared to the beginning, his mental energy seemed to have more than doubled. Although he had yet to make a breakthrough, his mental energy was like a piece of steel that had been tempered thousands of times, incomparably tough and durable. This was the energy that Li Zongjiu needed. The formation of this energy in his body also surprised Li Zongjiu. This is strange. How can my mental energy recover so quickly? Although the boundless stone could assist in the cultivation of mental energy, he didn't expect the effects to be so good. However, Li Zongjiu sensed it and observed it for a while. He immediately realized that it wasn't purely the energy of the boundless stone, but Li Zongjiu's physical strength. My physique has become stronger, and so has my recovery ability. I didn't expect my mental energy to be affected as well. It had to be said that the ancient golden tyrant body technique was really good stuff. My current mental energy is only equivalent to a third-grade origin ancestor. However, based on my current strength, I'm afraid it's comparable to a sixth-grade origin ancestor. Li Zongjiu thought to himself. This was the benefit that came with the improvement of the quality of his mental energy. That was because his battle prowess had also increased greatly. Wait, what's going on with the moon? Just as Li Zongjiu was about to take a step forward and get closer to the Wolf King Valley, he suddenly saw the moon in the sky turn scarlet. It seemed like fresh blood was spreading across the moon. Even Li Zongjiu had never encountered such a situation. However, given the power of the Moon Howl Wolves, it was impossible for them to affect the moon. Even if they all combined their power, they still wouldn't be able to affect the moon. Li Zongjiu was certain of this. It's not the moon that's changing, but the sky above us. What a strong mental energy. Even I was deceived. In fact, it was the Wolf King's mind power that affected the surrounding people, causing the moon in this small area to turn blood red. Influencing so many people at the same time was an extremely difficult task in and of itself. Li Zongjiu was the closest, so he felt it the most. If I remember correctly, according to the records in the book, the Moon Howl Wolves' combat strength will increase greatly when they are in the state of the blood moon. If you encounter it, it's best to run away immediately. The further, the better. Li Zongjiu had originally thought that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He hadn't expected to encounter such a situation so coincidentally. I've lived for 3,000 years in my previous life, but I've never seen such a situation. Today, I have to take a good look at it. However, Li Zongjiu didn't need to prepare too much. This was because the Moon Howl Wolf King seemed to have completed some kind of ritual and needed fresh blood to complete the last step. Therefore, the pair of scarlet eyes immediately locked onto Li Zongjiu. Come on, I'm not afraid of you. Li Zongjiu took out his mysterious thunder hammer. Given the quality of the mysterious thunder hammer, it should be able to deal with the current situation. After all, it had cost him a lot to forge the mysterious thunder hammer. Li Zongjiu originally thought that the Wolf King would come to challenge him one-on-one. However, he saw that all the wolves in the valley were slowly moving forward. They bared their fangs at Li Zongjiu, as if they wanted to bite Li Zongjiu to death. Finally, the Moon Howl Heavenly Wolf let out a furious howl towards the sky. This was an order from the Wolf King. Immediately, the countless Moon Howl Heavenly Wolves below roared and bared their teeth as they charged towards Li Zongjiu. Even with a rough count, there were more than 10,000 of them. Even Li Zongjiu's hair stood on end. However, he didn't cower. Instead, he swallowed his saliva. He wrapped the anti-skid rope on the mysterious thunder hammer around his wrist. Ha! Li Zongjiu also let out a low roar that was filled with energy. Immediately, the mysterious lightning hammer in his hand blossomed with a thick light. Roar! The first Moon Howl Wolf pounced towards Li Zongjiu. However, it didn't manage to touch Li Zongjiu. The mysterious thunder hammer in its hand directly smashed the latter's head. Bang! Brain matter instantly burst out. Blood Soul World. A terrifying power was released from Li Zongjiu's body and immediately enveloped the surrounding meta-beasts. In the Blood Soul World, a bloody battle broke out. The Moon Howl Wolves attacked from all directions. Very quickly, they surrounded Li Zongjiu with 3 layers of meta-beasts. In the Blood Soul World, Li Zongjiu was easily reaping the lives of these meta-beasts. Outside the valley, the howls of the wolves penetrated their hearts and lungs. Perhaps they shouldn't be guarding outside the valley in such an environment. However, they still hoped to pick up some scraps. Seeing that the surrounding people had no intention of retreating, some of them thought that since there were so many people here, they could still escape if something really happened. Roar! Why do I feel that those Moonhowl wolves are killing each other? Why don't you go in and take a look? No, I'm scared. I'm not going. That person waved his hand. Although he was curious, he didn't dare to go in and take a look. However, the howls in the Moonhowl Wolf Valley today were indeed a little abnormal. Li Zongjiu slaughtered along the way. The number of Moonhowl heavenly wolves that died at his hands exceeded 200. These were all rank 3 meta beasts. There were even a large number of rank 4 Moonhowl wolves that died in Li Zongjiu's hands. Chapter 386. Li Zongjiu also knew that it would be pointless to fight with these small fries. Furthermore, there were countless Howling Moon wolves in the Howling Moon Valley. Could it be that Li Zongjiu wanted to kill all of them tonight? Hence, in order to resolve this situation, he had to first exchange blows with the Howling Moon Wolf King. However, the Howling Moon Wolf King seemed to be absorbing the blood on the ground, gathering the blood on his body to strengthen his aura. Li Zongjiu stepped on the Howling Moon Wolf King's body and instantly flew into the air. Boom! Li Zongjiu instantly threw out the thunder hammer in his hand. It smashed onto the Howling Moon Wolf King's head. The thunder hammer was sent flying. The Howling Moon Wolf King was completely enraged by Li Zongjiu. Originally, it thought that Li Zongjiu was just an ordinary human, so it did not mind killing him. However, Li Zongjiu actually dared to provoke it. Today was the day it transformed into a true Wolf King after cultivating for 1,000 years. How could it be provoked by Li Zongjiu? Since that's the case, I'll use you to establish my dominance. Tonight, I'll unify the Howling Moon Wolf clan. Tomorrow, I'll extend my sharp claws into this human city. The Howling Moon Wolf King immediately leaped towards Li Zongjiu. As it leaped, a terrifying aura instantly spread out. Even though it was only this big, when it leaped towards Li Zongjiu, it gave off a feeling that it could blot out the sky. I've been cultivating the tiger taming fist in my previous life. Today, I can finally test its power. Boom! Li Zongjiu's lips curled up slightly. Then, he immediately rushed towards the Howling Moon Wolf King. Boom! A tiger taming fist was thrown out and instantly collided with the Howling Moon Wolf King's body. The Howling Moon Wolf King also extended its sharp claws and clawed towards Li Zongjiu. The two of them wrestled in the air. Boom! The two fell to the ground at the same time. The Howling Moon Wolf King was crouching on the ground, biting a piece of meat in his mouth. This piece of meat was taken from Li Zongjiu's body. With the strength of the Wolf King, he should have been able to bite Li Zongjiu in half. However, he only managed to bite off a piece of flesh, which surprised the Howling Moon Wolf. This brat's body was very strong. His flesh was actually so tough. Motherfucker, ever since Li Zongjiu was reborn, this was the first time that a wolf had bitten off a piece of flesh from his waist. This kind of injury wasn't too troublesome for Li Zongjiu. The ancient tyrant golden body art quickly stabilized his injuries. At the same time, the flesh that was bitten off quickly regenerated. What a fast recovery speed! When Li Zongjiu released his hand, he realized that his injuries were almost healed. A new piece of flesh had already regenerated where he was bitten off. It was really ruthless. He didn't show any mercy. Let's do it again. Li Zongjiu made a provocative gesture towards the Howling Moon Wolf King. Under this provocative gesture, the Howling Moon Wolf King spat the meat in his mouth to the side. As the Wolf King, he only ate living things. He wouldn't eat this piece of dead meat. Roar! The Howling Moon Wolf King pounced forward once again. Those sharp claws and fangs in his mouth were almost the most lethal weapons. Moreover, his body's defense was also very strong. Even when facing Li Zongjiu's iron fists, he was still able to resist the attacks and resist Li Zongjiu's strength. Boom boom. The Wolf King suddenly howled towards the sky. When he lowered his head again, a purplish-blue wolf flame was spat out from his mouth. Obsidian fire. Li Zongjiu immediately summoned the obsidian fire to protect himself. Under the protection of the obsidian fire, he was able to resist the attack of the wolf flame. Just as the wolf flame disappeared, the Wolf King suddenly opened his bloody mouth and appeared above Li Zongjiu's head. "You really want to eat me?" Li Zongjiu immediately grabbed the Wolf King's fangs with both hands. With a roar, he exerted his strength to the maximum to prevent the Wolf King's mouth from closing. "Fall!" Li Zongjiu growled and threw the Howling Moon Wolf King to the ground. He grabbed the Wolf King's fangs and punched the Wolf King's nose. Bang! Instantly, blood spurted out from the Wolf King's nose. The nose was an extremely important organ of the Wolf King. At this moment, Li Zongjiu almost destroyed it with a punch. This kind of pain was unbearable for an ordinary person. Immediately, the Wolf King howled in pain and its sharp claws scratched at the ground behind its body. Suddenly, the Wolf King's body exerted strength. It stared at Li Zongjiu's body and bit Li Zongjiu's wrist. Bang! The Wolf King crashed into Li Zongjiu's body and broke dozens of thick trees. Then, it slammed Li Zongjiu to the ground. The ground immediately cracked open. It was like an earthquake. Fortunately, Li Zongjiu's body's defense was extremely strong. Otherwise, he would have been crippled by this move. However, after experiencing such destruction, Li Zongjiu's body became even stronger. The ancient tyrant Golden Body continued to heal Li Zongjiu's injuries. As long as Li Zongjiu was not afraid of pain and did not lose his life, he would definitely be able to fight the Howling Moon Wolf King for a long time. The Howling Moon Wolf King refused to admit defeat. How could a mere human be able to withstand his attacks for so long? Furthermore, there were a few times when he almost fell to his death. Li Zongjiu's fists were extremely terrifying in the eyes of the Howling Moon Wolf King. When the fists landed on its body, it did not feel good. It was even a little scared. After all, Li Zongjiu had taken so many of its attacks. Until now, other than being in a sorry state, it did not affect anything else. Roar! Suddenly, a red light bloomed from the Howling Moon Wolf King's eyes. Following the emergence of the red light, Li Zongjiu immediately saw a shadow being separated from the Howling Moon Wolf King's body. Seeing this scene, Li Zongjiu's eyes widened. Damn, it actually has a doppelganger. No, this doppelganger's power is a little strange. Li Zongjiu carefully stared at the shadow and suddenly felt a wave of power coming towards him. It's a mind doppelganger. The two Howling Moon Wolf Kings howled once again and attacked Li Zongjiu. This time, it was worth it. Li Zongjiu could see a cunning smile appear on the Howling Moon Wolf King's hideous mouth. The threat of the mind doppelganger was quite great. Li Zongjiu could even feel his own mind power trembling. The White Dragon Origin Soul wanted to break free and take the initiative to fight. However, it was forcibly suppressed by Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu had seen such a situation before. It was just an extra mind doppelganger. The reason why Li Zongjiu was surprised was mainly because the Howling Moon Wolf King was able to create a mind doppelganger with such strength. This showed that the mind power of the Howling Moon Wolf King was at least in the level 5 realm. Roar! There seemed to be a Meng Shou in his mind, trying to tear apart Li Zongjiu's mind power. However, Li Zongjiu was extremely decisive. Since you're here, then surrender obediently. Li Zongjiu opened the door of his mind defense, allowing the mind doppelganger of the Howling Moon Wolf King to enter his mind and trap it in his spiritual world. Bai Shen's Fu. In the spiritual world, Li Zongjiu's mind doppelganger also emerged. It was trying to control the mind doppelganger of the roaring and arrogant mind Wolf King in front of him. It was chanting the contents of Bai Shen's Fu, trying to control the mind doppelganger of the Howling Moon Wolf King. You're really stupid. Let's see how you're going to fight me now. Li Zongjiu sneered. Looking at the Howling Moon Wolf King, it was hard to tell who was the smarter one. After all, Li Zongjiu also believed that his mind power was enough to subdue his opponent. However, the Howling Moon Wolf King seemed to have victory in his grasp. With a sway of his body, he pounced toward Li Zongjiu. Roar! Roar! It bit Li Zongjiu's shoulder, while Li Zongjiu punched the Howling Moon Wolf King's mouth. The Howling Moon Wolf King was instantly sent flying. The surrounding Howling Moon Wolves were shocked and they saw this scene. They did not expect this human to be so strong and be able to contend with their king for so long. The physical battle continued. Li Zongjiu's physical strength was not at all afraid of the Howling Moon Wolf. Originally, the Howling Moon Wolf King could have bitten off a piece of Li Zongjiu's flesh, but it could not do so now. The Howling Moon Wolf King controlled the muscles of its body and easily neutralized its strength. Why is this kid getting stronger the older he gets? The Howling Moon Wolf King discovered the uniqueness of Li Zongjiu's body. It was indeed shocking that there was such a person in existence. In the spiritual world, the Howling Moon Wolf King's body transformed into a middle-aged man in a blue robe. Facing Li Zongjiu's mind avatar, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Weak human, submit to me and I can spare your life. The Howling Moon Wolf King's middle-aged man said plainly. Li Zongjiu was slightly surprised when he saw the Howling Moon Wolf King's transformation. So you have the royal bloodline. No wonder your mind power is a little strange. If you can transform your mind power, then you should be able to transform in reality. Li Zongjiu said plainly. Speaking of which, Li Zongjiu also remembered that his courtyard seemed to lack a gatekeeper. It was not suitable to raise a dog, but if you were to raise a wolf, as long as it could guard the door, it would be enough. Are you going to put on the mind condom yourself, or do you want me to put it on for you? A ray of light suddenly floated in Li Zongjiu's palm. This was the mind condom that Li Zongjiu had mastered. It was the technique that he used to control the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle. Now that he met a Howling Moon Wolf King with the primitive emperor bloodline, he was extremely interested. It would be very useful after he subdued it. Chapter 387. When the Howling Moon Wolf King heard this, a mocking look appeared at the corner of his eyes. How dare he try to tame the great Howling Moon Wolf King? I'm afraid you don't understand my power. The Howling Moon Wolf King said in a low voice. In the next moment, countless rays of light were emitted from the Howling Moon Wolf King's body. His mental energy spread out like giant axes, chopping towards Li Zongjiu's mental energy doppelganger. Boom! Li Zongjiu's mental energy disappeared in an instant. In the next moment, he appeared behind the Howling Moon Wolf King. After all, this was Li Zongjiu's territory. He threw out the mental energy lasso in his hand, wanting to trap the Howling Moon Wolf King in front of him. However, the Howling Moon Wolf King was not to be trifled with. His body instantly turned into countless Howling Moon Wolf shadows and charged towards Li Zongjiu. He wanted to tear apart Li Zongjiu's mental energy. Roar! Under the full attack of the Howling Moon Wolf King, Li Zongjiu no longer held back. Tonight's battle was indeed very fruitful for Li Zongjiu. Therefore, it was time to end the battle. The white dragon origin spirit instantly appeared under his feet. With a swing of its tail, it sent the hundreds of heavenly gem phantoms flying. When the Howling Moon Wolf King's mental energy doppelganger saw the white dragon origin spirit appear, he immediately realized how terrifying it was. Dragon Tribe. You are from the Dragon Tribe. Under the bloodline and power of the Dragon Tribe, the Howling Moon Wolf King also felt a strong sense of danger. After all, their bloodline power would definitely be at a disadvantage in front of the Dragon Tribe's Supreme Being. Therefore, when he saw the white dragon origin spirit appear, he immediately wanted to escape. However, Li Zongjiu's spiritual world had long been sealed off. How could it be that easy to come and go as he pleased? In the real world, the Howling Moon Wolf King and Li Zongjiu separated. Both of them rolled to the side. The Howling Moon Wolf King let out a low growl as if to threaten Li Zongjiu. After all, in the current situation, its mind power was trapped in Li Zongjiu's body. Its original intention was to devour Li Zongjiu's mind power. However, no one expected Li Zongjiu's mental strength to be so tenacious. It wasn't much weaker than his physical strength. Even the Howling Moon Wolf King rarely saw such an all-round expert. The reason why the Howling Moon Wolf King could attain his current cultivation was that he had experienced countless battles. Most of the battles were either humans or meta-beasts. None of them had both physical strength and spiritual power at the same time. The Howling Moon Wolf King was born with these two great abilities. Therefore, his combat power was extremely strong. Even a Yuan monarch elite would only end up being devoured by the Howling Moon Wolf King. Continuous devouring was also a process that allowed the Howling Moon Wolf King to become stronger. However, when faced with Li Zongjiu, it seemed that the only outcome was to run away. Roar! The Howling Moon Wolf King let out a low growl and suddenly prostrated himself on the ground, as if he was enduring an intense pain. The reason for this was because the White Dragon Origin Spirit was viciously whipping his spiritual clone. Slap! The White Dragon Origin Spirit pressed the Howling Moon Wolf King under its claws. It seemed as if it could pull off the latter's head with a little force. Hold on, I will submit to you. The Howling Moon Wolf King hurriedly shouted when he saw that the White Dragon's claws were about to land. His 1,000-year cultivation base would probably be destroyed if he didn't speak up in time. Admitting defeat wasn't considered shameful in the Yuan beast realm. As long as the other party was stronger than you and had the ability to truly defeat you, submitting to the other party under such circumstances was an extremely wise choice. Compared to humans, these Yuan beasts knew better how to fight for their right to live. In their world, natural selection and survival of the fittest were vividly reflected. Furthermore, the origin spirit that Li Zongjiu had unleashed was the Dragon Origin Spirit. What did this mean? Either Li Zongjiu possessed the bloodline of the dragon race. Or, Li Zongjiu had killed a member of the dragon race before. Either way, he was an extremely powerful existence. Following him would definitely not be at a disadvantage. However, the Howling Moon Wolf King was also extremely depressed. It had finally broken through today and became the king of the Howling Moon Valley. However, it was defeated by Li Zongjiu in the blink of an eye. Who would have thought that it would be subdued by Li Zongjiu in the blink of an eye when it had just attained such a high status? Li Zongjiu withdrew the White Dragon Origin Spirit and put the mind lasso on the Howling Moon Wolf King. Immediately, the Howling Moon Wolf King's mind power established a connection with Li Zongjiu. With this connection, Li Zongjiu could easily summon the Howling Moon Wolf King and even communicate directly within a corresponding distance as if they were talking face to face. The golden-winged blue-tailed eagle was no match for him. After all, it was only a rank 3 Yuan beast. It was fine if it could dominate a place like Wuxia City. Any Howling Moon Wolf in the Howling Moon Valley could easily defeat the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle. Li Zongjiu's strength wasn't enough, so he didn't know what was going on in the Wuxia City. However, with Li Zongjiu's current backup plan, there shouldn't be a problem. After all, a place like Wuxia City was not very important to Qingyuan Manor. The few people who had lost were all pointed to Li Zongjiu. Even if there was danger, Qingyuan Manor would choose to deal with Li Zongjiu directly. The battle in the valley also stopped. Li Zongjiu's body was fine. However, his clothes were completely ruined. They were scratched until they were unrecognizable. After changing his clothes, Li Zongjiu summoned the Howling Moon Wolf King. Can you control all the Howling Moon Wolves to launch a mind power attack on me? Li Zongjiu asked. The tempering of mind power was, of course, dangerous. It was also to test one's limits. Only then could one persist to the end. What are you doing? Are you crazy? There are more than 10,000 howling moon wolves in my valley. If they attack together, even I can't withstand it. I will be crushed in an instant. Then it's fine. Go and prepare. I want to give it a try. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Then, he landed on the hill where the Wolf King was previously. The Blood Moon had disappeared because the Howling Moon Wolf King had stabilized his strength and withdrew his aura. The layer of illusion also disappeared. This is crazy. Is this human crazy? If your mental strength is erased, then I will die too. The Howling Moon Wolf King was shocked. How could there be such a fearless person? The Howling Moon Wolf King couldn't resist Li Zongjiu's order and could only do as he was told. However, the Howling Moon Wolf King was a Wolf King after all. Hence, it shouldn't be a problem for him to control the energy when it surged out. However, he didn't know to what extent he could control it. He could only say that he would try his best. No matter what, he couldn't let Li Zongjiu die in front of him. Woo! After the Howling Moon Wolf King gave the order, all the Howling Moon Heavenly Wolves lifted their heads and howled in Li Zongjiu's direction. As Yuan beasts of this level, their innate attributes allowed their howls to carry a terrifying mental energy attack. This was also the reason why ordinary people didn't dare to go near the Howling Moon Valley. Close to 10,000 mind power surged toward Li Zongjiu at the same time. This feeling was different from before. Back then, Li Zongjiu had only touched the edge of the maelstrom. It was as though he was on the edge of a maelstrom. Now, however, Li Zongjiu was directly inside the maelstrom. He could feel the power coming from every direction. Boom! Just the first wave of power was enough to make Li Zongjiu feel like his organs were about to be crushed into pieces. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Pfft! If mind power was described as a basin of water, Li Zongjiu would have flipped over the basin and rolled a few rounds in the air before coming to a stop. If the basin were to explode, it would be equivalent to Li Zongjiu's mental energy being crippled, and he would be severely injured. The Howling Moon Wolf King looked at Li Zongjiu's situation in fear. He was afraid that Li Zongjiu would be crippled by this attack. In that case, he would also die. Hence, the loss outweighed the gain. However, it seemed that Li Zongjiu's strength was stronger than he had imagined. It was already good that he was able to withstand until now. Although Li Zongjiu's head was about to explode from the impact, he still managed to withstand it. However, he still persevered and quickly recovered his mental energy. Continue. Again. Li Zongjiu said in a deep voice. Although his head was about to explode, he was still able to withstand it. The Howling Moon Wolf King's eyes darkened and he continued to organize. Within the Howling Moon Valley, howling sounds could be heard. The appearance of such a phenomenon also caused those who were still lying in ambush outside the valley to be completely dumbfounded. What was going on? What did this mean? They had never seen these Howling Moon Wolves roar like this before. The sky gradually brightened. On the second day, Li Zongjiu was already exhausted. All the Howling Moon Wolves had returned to their lairs. After absorbing the essence of the moon, these Howling Moon Wolves also needed time to digest. In comparison, they would not take the initiative to search for food. Those who were lying in ambush outside the valley. He discovered that there seemed to be less activity within the Howling Moon Valley. Those Howling Moon Wolves did not seem to have any intention of leaving the valley. Under the temptation of huge benefits, they bravely walked in to search for some treasures. In particular, some of the items left behind by the Howling Moon Wolf King after his breakthrough were also quite valuable. If he could find these items, he would not have to worry for the rest of his life. Hence, when the first person entered the Howling Moon Valley and realized that there was no danger, he rushed into the Howling Moon Forest one after another. Chapter 388. The group of people from the Ding Tian sect also quickly rushed into the Howling Moon Forest. Even though so many people had entered at the same time, they were nothing to the Howling Moon Forest. After all, the area was very vast. Soon, someone discovered Li Zongjiu meditating on a hillside. Why does that kid look so familiar? When they saw that someone had already appeared in the Howling Moon Valley, the people who had just entered could not help but feel nervous. Now that such a scene had occurred in the Howling Moon Valley, they all stared at Li Zongjiu. That kid has been in the Howling Moon Valley since last night and is still alive. He's quite powerful. Maybe he has already gotten the item. Someone recognized Li Zongjiu and knew that Li Zongjiu was in the Howling Moon Valley. Maybe the good stuff was hidden by Li Zongjiu. Anyway, there must be something strange about Li Zongjiu. Kid, you have been here since last night. Some people who were used to being domineering could not help but go up and try to force Li Zongjiu to hand over the item. After all, Li Zongjiu looked only 16 or 17 years old. How powerful could such a kid be? Those Howling Moon wolves probably saw that Li Zongjiu did not have much meat on his body, so they did not take him seriously. That was why they did not eat him. However, Li Zongjiu did not respond to that person's shout. He could not help but be stunned. Could it be that this kid was deliberately playing some tricks? You want to play dead with me? When my knife falls, I'll see if you can even blink. A burly man immediately pulled out his bull-slaying knife. The bull-slaying knife looked strong and powerful, and it seemed to be very powerful. He directly chopped down at Li Zongjiu's head. Bandits were common in the vicinity. Thus, these people did not hold back in their attacks. After all, these people's strength was extremely ferocious. However, this knife did not fall on Li Zongjiu's neck. The burly man was directly sent flying by a claw. When his body flew out, it disintegrated in the air. A vigorous and powerful aura gushed out from the heads of the remaining 5 people. At the same time, a pair of terrifying eyes were staring at them. When the remaining 5 sensed this aura, they felt their scalps go numb. It was as if someone was pulling their hair, and their hearts were about to jump up to their throats. Looking at the scene before him, he simply could not believe his eyes. Wolf. Wolf, Howling Moon. Howling Moon Wolf King. Their eyes widened as they stared at the Howling Moon Wolf King that had suddenly appeared. At this moment, they were extremely regretful that they had come here. However, from the looks of it, the Howling Moon Wolf King seemed to be protecting this young man. Who was this young man that the Howling Moon Wolf King would personally come to protect him? Roar! The Howling Moon Wolf King roared at the remaining people. These people were immediately scared out of their wits and hurriedly ran away. Killing them was very easy for the Howling Moon Wolf King, just like stepping on an ant. However, ordinary people would not be so bored as to purposely find an ant to step on. Therefore, after these people escaped, they did not care at all. After circling around Li Zongjiu, they continued to rest at the side. Since their backs were facing Li Zongjiu looked like a cultivator leaning against a pitch-black boulder. When the 5 people fled in panic, they were also seen by the rest of the people. When they were asked what happened, they could only stammer and not say anything. However, they desperately pointed in the direction of Li Zongjiu. Those who entered the Howling Moon Forest to search for treasures became extremely united at this moment. At this moment, they also hurriedly chased in the direction of Li Zongjiu. That young man might have a way to control the Wolf King. That's right. Otherwise, why would the Wolf King protect him? There must be something strange about it. The 5 people from the Ding Tian sect also heard about it. Control the Wolf King. How is that possible? Are these people crazy? When Xie Guangyuan heard such a thing, it was simply mocking his intelligence. If the Howling Moon Wolf King was so easily subdued, how could the Howling Moon Valley have such a fierce reputation? It should have been completely wiped out by someone long ago. They might even have directly extracted all the treasures in the Howling Moon Forest. However, since everyone is going, let's go and join in the fun. This time, I will be by your side to protect you when I bring you down the mountain for training. In the future, you will be going down the mountain alone. Therefore, you must master your strength. Only then will you not be afraid of anything when you go out. Xie Guangyuan instructed the 4 disciples in a teaching tone. The 4 of them nodded in agreement. The nature of the Ding Tian sect was more inclined towards alchemy. However, they were not very skilled in this aspect. Therefore, Yuan power cultivation was also extremely important. The group also arrived at the legendary hillside. Indeed, they saw a person sitting cross-legged on the hillside. He seemed to have entered a mysterious state and was not aware of the situation outside. When they saw this person, Xie Guangyuan and the rest opened their eyes wide. It's him. Xiaofu also opened her mouth wide in shock. In addition to being shocked, she quickly covered her small mouth. In front of Li Zongjiu was a huge, pitch-black beast. Although it was just lying there, the hundreds of people gathered here did not dare to take a step closer. If they accidentally angered this meta beast during the process of approaching, they might be gnawed until not even their bones were left. Luo Hao also saw Li Zongjiu. When he looked at Xiaofu beside him, the expression in her eyes changed. The anger and hatred in his heart towards Li Zongjiu deepened. Below the hillside, when everyone saw this scene, they were extremely tempted. They wanted to capture Li Zongjiu directly. However, the Howling Moon Wolf King beside Li Zongjiu was not to be trifled with. He can actually make the Wolf King protect him. Who exactly is this young man? The Wolf King did not have any hostility towards these people who came close. They were just a group of ants surrounding him. It was not worth it for the Wolf King to be too serious. Many people also looked at the Wolf King and observed Li Zongjiu's actions. Whenever someone wanted to approach Li Zongjiu, the Wolf King would shift its gaze. Finally, after waiting for a long time, Li Zongjiu finally opened his eyes and stood up. When Li Zongjiu saw that there were actually so many people looking at him, he was obviously a little surprised. What's the matter? Li Zongjiu asked casually. He thought that these people were here to look for him. However, when he saw the Howling Moon Wolf King, he understood that this Howling Moon Wolf King had shocked them too much. That was why they were attracted here. Who allowed you to come out? You are too ostentatious. Li Zongjiu kicked the Howling Moon Wolf King's body. The Howling Moon Wolf King felt extremely wronged and stuttered. If he was not here to protect you, you would have been eaten by that group of people. Who knows? Of course, the Howling Moon Wolf King did not dare to say that. If he was not controlled by his mental strength, he would definitely open his mouth and bite off your neck. However, right now, he could only grumble in jealousy. He did not even dare to breathe too loudly. Otherwise, if Li Zongjiu thought that he had something to say, he would teach him a lesson. When the onlookers saw Li Zongjiu scolding the Howling Moon Wolf King as if he was teaching a dog a lesson, they all widened their eyes in shock. Fuck, I'm not seeing things, I must be seeing things because of my old age. How could something like this happen? This is impossible. Some people hurriedly covered their eyes. There were also some who thought that they were seeing things because of their old age. How could something like this happen? This was the Howling Moon Wolf King, the high and mighty Wolf King. How could it be scolded like this? This was too tragic. It had completely overturned their imagination and understanding. Scram, scram, pack up and follow me to the Sacred Flame Royal City. After saying that, Li Zongjiu kicked the Howling Moon Wolf King down the valley. Who knew what the Howling Moon Wolf King still had to deal with? After all, after reaching the Tier 5 realm, the Howling Moon Wolf King would basically form its own will, which meant it would have its own thoughts. It would become more complete and look more like a human. This was also commonly known as the awakening of the mind. Before becoming a rank 5 meta beast, a meta beast would at most have a little bit of intelligence. If one were to talk about understanding humans, then only spiritual beasts would have a little bit of human intelligence. The Howling Moon Wolf King had just broken through to the rank 5 realm. Seeing the Howling Moon Wolf King leave the hillside, the onlookers finally heaved a sigh of relief. Now that the biggest threat had left, some people immediately became unyielding. "It's you. You ordered that hungry wolf to kill my brother. If you don't give me an explanation today, I will definitely not let you off." As soon as the Howling Moon Wolf King left, someone rushed in front of Li Zongjiu and scolded him. From the looks of it, if no one stopped him, he would probably fight with Li Zongjiu. "Calm down first, let's see what this brat has to say. Little brother, no matter what, one of our people has indeed died. What do you think about this matter?" Li Zongjiu was a little dumbfounded. "What's going on? Are they trying to blackmail me?" In Li Zongjiu's eyes, it was a little unbelievable. Who gave them the courage to do this? Motherfucker. Chapter 389. Cut the crap. Either you compensate me with 50 million today, or you fight me to the death. That man roared. The man who was sent flying by the Howling Moon Wolf King was actually just his teammate. They usually called each other brothers, but in order to make himself sound more miserable, he directly said that he was his younger brother. "Okay, then let's fight to the death," Li Zongjiu said directly. The 4 people who were in charge of covering for them all looked at Li Zongjiu in surprise. Was Li Zongjiu not afraid of death? There were 5 of them here. If Li Zongjiu was really powerful, then there was no need for the Howling Moon Wolf King to protect him. Now that the Howling Moon Wolf King had left, what right did Li Zongjiu have to be ruthless in front of them? Therefore, when they heard Li Zongjiu's words, they felt that it was simply unbelievable. "Brat, think carefully. This is a human life. If we really want to fight, we won't show any mercy." Their faces suddenly became ruthless. They even directly surrounded Li Zongjiu. After encircling him, no matter which direction Li Zongjiu wanted to escape, there was no chance for him to do so. "Oh, okay. I want to see how hard your hands are." Li Zongjiu stretched out his hand and waved. Suddenly, a shadow quickly swept over from afar. With a strong wind, it flew and landed in Li Zongjiu's hand. A whistling sound shook the air. The thing that flew over was the thunder hammer that Li Zongjiu threw out last night. Although the thunder hammer was not a divine weapon, when it hit a person's head, the feeling of it exploding like a watermelon was pretty good. Therefore, Li Zongjiu preferred to use the thunder hammer to fight. "Since you want to act shamelessly, then don't blame us for not being polite." These people immediately pulled out their weapons and shouted. At the same time, they rushed towards Li Zongjiu. With 5 people attacking at the same time, no matter who Li Zongjiu went to block first, he would be hit by the other 4, and the only outcome would be death. From the coordination of these 5 people, it was clear that this was not the first time something like this had happened. This time, he was just unlucky. Before he could figure out the situation, he was killed by the Howling Moon Wolf King. That was why such a situation occurred. Originally, they didn't need to lose any manpower at all. They could just blame it on others and take the opportunity to extort some money. Since Li Zongjiu wasn't willing to pay the money, Li Zongjiu didn't want to take the initiative. The only way was to be killed by them and then rob Li Zongjiu of his wealth. But this time, they had lost. Li Zongjiu had no intention of blocking at all. He held the thunder hammer in his hand and smashed it directly at the head of the person in front of him. Bang! The head of the person who was hit by Li Zongjiu directly exploded. Such a bloody scene was incomparably shocking to everyone. But at the same time, the 4 ox-slaying blades behind him directly chopped Li Zongjiu's neck, thigh, head, and waist. However, the expected situation didn't happen. Instead, the weapon in his hand directly broke with a clang. Li Zhongjiu held the hammer in his hand horizontally and directly smashed the head of the person next to him. Bang! Bang! After the first strike, the force continued and smashed another person's head into mush. What? It actually broke. He has armor on his body. Even if there was an armor, the defense of this armor was too comprehensive. In just an instant, they lost 3 people. This also made the remaining 2 people understand that they were no match for Li Zhongjiu. This Li Zhongjiu must be a homicidal maniac. In such a situation, the only way was to escape. Run! Where could they escape to? In front of Li Zhongjiu, there was no chance to escape. Just as one person's feet left the ground, he was pulled down by Li Zhongjiu and smashed on his head with the hammer. The other person had already escaped for more than 10 times. Help, help! That person rushed into the crowd. Asking for help in the crowd, even if it could be held back for a moment, it would be very good. Seeing that he was about to escape, he rejoiced in his heart and laughed. However, before he could laugh out loud, he saw Li Zhongjiu throw the hammer in his hand out. Boom! His head exploded. He fell to the ground in an extremely tragic manner. He stretched out his hand and waved it, then took back the hammer. The thunder-profound hammer was not stained with any blood. It was tough and hard, and it shattered with one hit. It was simply too satisfying. The reason why he killed so many people was because they were courting death, so Li Zhongjiu didn't have the slightest mercy. He actually killed people. Although killing people wasn't taboo for those present, Li Zhongjiu was the only one who could do it so skillfully and casually. A woo! A wolf howl was heard. The Howling Moon Wolf King's figure descended from the sky. Li Zhongjiu also ignored the people in front of him. Immediately, he flipped his body and landed on the Howling Moon Wolf King's back. His body instantly soared into the sky, more than 10,000 meters in the sky. The Howling Moon Wolf King could be said to be very excited. It had been cultivating here for more than 1,000 years, and it didn't even know what the outside world looked like. Now that it could finally leave the valley, it was also a chance for it to roam the world. In the eyes of the crowd, they saw a 16-year-old boy standing on the back of the Howling Moon Wolf King. Then, in front of the crowd, he instantly disappeared from the sky above the Howling Moon Wolf Valley. To them, such a scene was exactly what they had imagined themselves to be. When would they be able to possess such power and tame such a terrifying yuan beast as their mount? No matter what the channel was, wouldn't that be a great honor for them? Boom! Li Zhongjiu sat on the back of the Howling Moon Wolf King. Because he had a mount this time, he didn't need to take the sky-shaking ship back. Otherwise, he would have to wait. The Howling Moon Wolf King's speed was extremely fast. Its figure was like lightning as it shuttled through the mountains and rivers. Swoosh! Swoosh! The surrounding scenery was also moving backwards at a rapid speed. During this journey, it only took half a day for the Howling Moon Wolf King to bring Li Zhongjiu to the front of the Sacred Flame Royal City. The scene of the Howling Moon Wolf King's charge along the way was extremely shocking. Who knew how many meta beasts' habitats were disturbed? The reason why they were able to rush back so quickly was because Li Zhongjiu's mental energy had broken through the current level. It was almost the same as his yuan power cultivation. Li Zhongjiu heaved a sigh of relief. To Li Zhongjiu, it was extremely good for his cultivation to become stronger. In front of the Sacred Flame Royal City, Li Zhongjiu also jumped down from the back of the Howling Moon Wolf King. If you enter the city with your current appearance, you will definitely attract trouble. Restrain your aura, Li Zhongjiu said. The Howling Moon Wolf King growled. Then, its huge body started to shrink. At the same time, the terrifying aura of the Wolf King was also hidden in its body. On the surface, it looked more like an ordinary meta beast wolf. There was nothing special about it. That's more like it. Since his cultivation had broken through to the 5th level, it was necessary for him to have the ability to disguise himself. He swaggered into the sacred flame royal city with the Howling Moon Wolf King. Even if a Yuan King elite came, he might not be able to see the uniqueness of the Howling Moon Wolf King, let alone the guards at the gate. After all, under normal circumstances, people would not overlook such ordinary things. After entering the city, Li Zongjiu brought the Howling Moon Wolf King back to his manor. It was not easy to buy such a manor. He had to guard it well. When his parents were free, he would bring them to the Sacred Flame Royal City for a tour so that they could have a place to stay. In the future, you will guard this place. If anyone dares to barge in, you will bite them to death. Without a search warrant, even the special envoy could not barge in. If he was killed in the process, it would be Li Zongjiu's fault. Chapter 390. The moon-howling heavenly wolf king widened his eyes. Although his IQ wasn't very high, he more or less knew that this was clearly making him a watchdog. He was the moon-howling heavenly wolf king. How could he do such a shameful thing? The moon-howling heavenly wolf king immediately showed his ferocious side. He bared his fangs and growled in a low voice. Li Zongjiu slapped him on the head, and the moon-howling heavenly wolf king could only sit on the ground obediently. San Tong was supposed to take care of some of the things in the courtyard. However, he had been chased out by Li Zongjiu to train. Usually, when Li Zongjiu sent someone out to train, he would treat it as if she was dead. If she could come back alive, it would be a good thing. However, if she couldn't, there was nothing he could do. After all, his ability wasn't strong enough to bring someone back from the dead. Over the next 2 days, Li Zongjiu didn't go anywhere. First, he contacted a beef shop and asked them to send 2 cows to him every day. If the moon-howling heavenly wolf king was hungry, he might just rush out and eat everyone he saw. The beef shop was overjoyed to see Li Zongjiu's huge order. Such a long-term customer was definitely from a wealthy family. He didn't lack money at all. Li Zongjiu cultivated during the day. At night, he and the moon-howling heavenly wolf king would roast beef in the courtyard. A fragrance wafted out. After 3,000 years of accumulation, Li Zongjiu's culinary skills had reached the pinnacle. The aroma of Li Zongjiu's food naturally spread to Yao Lei's house. This made Yao Lei realize that Li Zongjiu had returned. The lessons in the Celestial Day Medicine Manor were extremely difficult. For Yao Lei, with her current talent, she couldn't accept it. If she continued, it would be extremely difficult for Yao Lei. Therefore, Yao Lei herself was extremely hesitant. The main thing was that she now knew that the gap between her and Li Zongjiu was very big. It was this gap that made Yao Lei feel a sense of reverence. However, this could be said to be her only chance. If she could get some guidance from Li Zongjiu, she might have a chance to stay. Although it was a little hard for Yao Lei to accept asking for advice like this, she still mustered up her courage in the end. "Uncle Wu, our family should still have some precious wine, right?" Yao Lei asked. Wu Teng, who was wiping the sword in his hand, also raised his head. "Yes, I buried a jar of 10,000 years drunk 20 years ago. Hee, I feel happy just thinking about it. If I had known, I would have buried a few more jars back then." Thinking of this, Wu Ting secretly rejoiced and drooled. But soon, Wu Ting saw Yao Lei run into the woodshed and rush out with a shovel. Did this girl think of some alchemy method again? Looking at the excited Yao Lei, Wu Ting felt gratified in his heart. Seeing Yao Lei working so hard every day, he felt a little distressed. However, only through hardship can one rise to the top. As the elders, of course, they had to properly train their descendants. Wait. Fuck, my wine. Wu Ting suddenly reacted. How could there be any alchemy method that would require a shovel? Now, his precious wine was directly carried away by Yao Lei. Wu Ting quickly chased after her. However, it was too late. "Uncle Wu, lend me this wine." My wine. That's my life. When Yao Lei arrived in front of Li Zongjiu's manor, she knocked on the door. The Howling Moon Wolf King, who was originally lying in the courtyard, immediately got up and bared its fangs. Its claws were also deeply embedded into the ground, as if it was ready to start a massacre and bite anyone who walked into the manor to death. It even let out a whimper from its mouth. What the hell are you yelling for? I'm saying that if anyone tries to force their way in, you should bite them to death. Not everyone who comes in has to be bitten to death, you idiot. Li Zongjiu slapped the Howling Moon Wolf King's head. It was the dignified king of the Howling Moon Wolf clan. It did not expect to be humiliated by a puny human like Li Zongjiu today. It was a deep blow to its pride. If it was not for the spiritual lasso, it would have bitten off Li Zongjiu's head. However, after thinking about it, it was not right. Even without the spiritual lasso, it was not a match for Li Zongjiu. The door is not locked. Come in. Li Zongjiu shouted at the door. Yao Lei carried a jug of 10,000 years drunk wine that she had just dug out and walked towards Li Zongjiu. The wine in her hand emitted a mellow fragrance. Even Li Zongjiu could not help but take a sniff. What a fragrant wine. I smelled that you guys were eating barbecue, so I specially brought this wine over. Yao Lei saw that not only Li Zongjiu was in the courtyard, there was also a wolf cub. However, the wolf cub looked extremely handsome. It could be described as valiant. It was not bad to be able to raise such a little thing at home. Oh, I'll try it. Li Zongjiu was also a lover of wine. In his previous life, he was alone and would often drink to drown his sorrows. However, after being reborn in this life, everything was still there, so he was not as negative as before. Now, he only treated wine as a pastime. If he came across a good wine, he would inevitably drink a cup or two. When the lid of the wine was opened, the courtyard was instantly filled with its fragrance. This kind of wine that had been brewed for 20 years was incomparably mellow. Good wine, good wine. After taking a sip, Li Zongjiu's eyes suddenly lit up. It had been a long time since he drank such good wine. After all, after being reborn, he had been relatively busy. If he was not killing people, then he was on the way to kill people. Now, he finally had the time to sit down and enjoy it. For Li Zongjiu, this was an extremely rare moment. Yao Lei saw that Li Zongjiu was drinking wine and felt very happy in her heart. In this way, it would be relatively easier for her to speak. She wanted to ask Li Zongjiu for a few pointers. However, Li Zongjiu drank 3 bowls in a row and did not stop. Yao Lei did not know how to start the conversation. At this time, Li Zongjiu also put down the bowl in his hand. Looking at Yao Lei, he asked, "You want to learn the method of alchemy?" Yao Lei's talent was not bad, but now, there were few ways to guide her. She only needed a little guidance, and she would definitely be able to usher in an explosive breakthrough. Most of the time, the majority of the geniuses were buried by some teaching methods. Therefore, this method was very important. Not everyone was suitable for the same method. Since you gave me a jar of wine, I will pass on a mental cultivation method to you. How much you can remember and comprehend depends on you. Li Zongjiu said. Speaking of elemental arts, cultivation methods, mental cultivation methods and the like, there were countless of them in Li Zongjiu's mind. In his previous life, he had collected all of these things. More importantly, after Li Zongjiu became famous, if someone wanted to ask Li Zongjiu to refine pills, then they had to take out something that Li Zongjiu appreciated. No matter how expensive the thing was, it had to be something that Li Zongjiu liked. Otherwise, it would be worthless. For a period of time, Li Zongjiu was very interested in elemental arts, so he also collected a lot of them. However, what he passed to Yao Lei this time was a spirit cultivation method. As long as she opened the door to the mental world, she would be able to find a wider world and would not stay at the current level. Hearing that Li Zongjiu agreed to pass on the mental cultivation method to her, Yao Lei was very surprised. But in the blink of an eye, she became worried. Learning the mental cultivation method required a long time of practice and study. There was only half a month left before she could stay in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Then if I learn this mental cultivation method, will I have a chance to pass the assessment of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor? If you can learn 30% of this mental cultivation method, you can easily pass. If you can learn 50%, then you can be ranked in the top 10 among the new students. If you can learn 70%, then you will be able to become a 6th grade alchemist in just a short time. Li Zhongjiu said faintly. With his status as Li Zhongjiu, how could he take out some simple things? If he did, people would feel that he was not worthy of his status. Hearing Li Zhongjiu's words, Yao Lei only felt that her breathing became extremely difficult and she could not breathe. What was such an exciting mental cultivation method? She was very curious and also very excited. She was very grateful that Li Zhongjiu was willing to pass on the mental cultivation method to her. Listen carefully, this mental cultivation method is called 100 Flowers Bloom. Li Zhongjiu recited the mental cultivation method. In the process of reciting, he also deliberately integrated a wisp of mental strength into it so that Yao Lei could better listen and understand. When he finished reciting the entire mental cultivation method, it only took Li Zhongjiu 10 minutes. However, after Yao Lei finished listening, she sat quietly in the same place. She did not get up, nor did she open her eyes. She just sat there quietly. The Howling Moon Wolf King kept eating the beef in front of it. Suddenly, it raised its head and bared its teeth in the direction of the door. It turned out that Wu Teng was worried about Yao Lei's situation, so he also came to take a look. When he saw Yao Lei sitting quietly in the same place, he knew that this Li Zhongjiu's strength was indeed extraordinary. Immediately, Wu Teng bowed slightly to Li Zhongjiu. Then, he turned around and left. The next day, early morning. When Yao Lei opened her eyes, she immediately felt the spring equinox. However, it was clearly autumn now, so how could there be such a feeling? This is, Yao Lei saw that there were flowers blooming around her. When these flowers appeared, Yao Lei was shocked. How could there be such a change? How much did I comprehend? Chapter 391. Li Zhongjiu wasn't in the courtyard, so Yao Lei wasn't sure how much she had comprehended. However, Yao Lei's body had undergone a huge change. First of all, her body felt extremely good. At the very least, some of the recent lessons in the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor had caused his mind to be in a mess, and the feeling of drowsiness had completely disappeared at this moment. It was as if his eyes were clear and his heart was clear. Your master should be cultivating. Say thank you to your master. Yao Lei whispered to the Howling Moon Wolf King, who was lying in the courtyard. The Howling Moon Wolf King lifted his eyelids and looked at Yao Lei. When he heard her words, he wagged his tail. Good boy. In Yao Lei's eyes, the Howling Moon Wolf King was like a smart puppy. Since it could understand her words, she was naturally very happy. She was naturally very fond of such a smart little fellow. After rubbing the Howling Moon Wolf King's head, Yao Lei turned around and left. The Howling Moon Wolf King had never imagined that he, the king of the Sirius tribe, would actually stay here and watch over someone else's house. He even had his head rubbed by someone else. It was really infuriating. 3 days later. Li Zhongjiu had also arrived at the Heavenly Day Medicine Manor early in the morning. Kuan Erishur was also waiting here. When Kuan Erishur knew that Li Zhongjiu was going, he agreed without hesitation. Furthermore, even if Li Zhongjiu wasn't going, Kuan Erishur had to go. He was here to make a name for himself, not to play games. He had to make a name for himself and participate in these competitions. In short, Kuan Erishur was here to cause trouble in the Sacred Flame Royal City. Other than the two of them, there were 3 other people who were going together. There was Shui Yu, Mu Qingyun, and Mo Suli, whom he had met in the 7-star fire room. After all, these two people were both very famous people. If they were to be brought out, it would definitely suppress the reputation of the academy. Moreover, in this kind of environment, they could directly intimidate the other two great academies. It was enough to let them clearly recognize which academy was the #1 alchemy academy within the Shengyan dynasty. The person leading the team was Sun Yu. If Li Zongjiu hadn't killed Hu Fei, Sun Yu probably wouldn't have had the chance to take over. However, Sun Yu didn't seem to be the kind of person who pursued power. He was more of a person who didn't care about his realm. However, he was able to handle some things very well. Basically, he was the kind of person who could be used as a backup. If there's anything, I'll let you handle it. Because they were all first years, a teacher was also selected from the first years. Yang Xuelin. Now that the new semester had begun, Yang Xuelin also became the new teacher of the first years of the Earth Branch Institute's Class A. In terms of achievements, she wasn't bad at all. In fact, she could even be compared to many people. With the two of them and the 5 youngsters who were showing off their abilities, they were like a sharp knife that directly led them out of the academy. Everyone is here. Let's set off. Oh, right. Let me introduce you. This is Teacher Yang Xuelin. I'm Sun Yu, the leader of this team. If there's anything, just look for me. Sun Yu said in a straightforward manner. He didn't even hold a rally before the battle. Just like that, they all boarded their respective carriages. The trip was simple. There were only 2 carriages in total. The teachers were in one carriage while the students were in the other. The carriages were all equipped with coachmen. Sit tight. Go. The carriages sped out. They took small paths around the city and weren't considered the main streets. Therefore, their speed was very fast. As the carriages swayed, the group of people also moved forward quickly. In the students' carriages, Li Zongjiu was resting with his eyes closed. In his mind, he was still reciting the mind cultivation technique of the White God inscription. His mind power was also increasing bit by bit. Shui Yu, who was sitting opposite him, crossed her arms in front of her chest and stared at Li Zongjiu angrily. She looked like she couldn't wait to eat Li Zongjiu up. Mo Su Li, on the other hand, was flipping through a yellowed book in his hands. 3 boys sat in a row while 2 girls sat opposite them. Mu Qingyun was the only one who had nothing to do. Even Kuan Erisher was persevering in his cultivation. In the past 5 days, Kuan Erisher had also been practicing his martial arts diligently. At the same time, he was also shocked. After all, Kuan Erisher was someone who possessed an ancient Yuan spirit. However, even with his outstanding cultivation talent, there was no way for him to directly break through to the next realm. In front of a Yuan monarch elite, he could only run away. However, Li Zongjiu was able to kill a Yuan monarch elite. It was this that gave Kuan Erisher a huge shock. Lan Kuan also knew that there were many incomparably powerful monstrous geniuses in this world. These monstrous geniuses were simply winners in life. Not only were their Yuan power talents frightening, they were also able to self-learn many things, awaken their own Yuan spirits, and grasp the power of the heavens and earth. They were undoubtedly the favored children of the heavens. Kuan Erisher suspected that Li Zongjiu was one of those geniuses. To be able to possess such strength was definitely not simple. The most terrifying thing was that Li Zongjiu was extremely low-key. What he had done, such as killing Yi Lone Moon, would definitely spread far and wide if word of it got out. It would be enough to make Li Zongjiu the talk of many people at the pinnacle. However, Li Zongjiu did not care. After killing Yi Lone Moon, he left immediately. Even Yi Lantian could not find the murderer until now. In the past few days, he had already dealt with several hostile families and wiped them out completely. His son was dead, so he could not just let these people laugh at him. Therefore, he seemed to have gone crazy during this period. Even the four great families were shaken to a certain extent. After his son died, Yilantian's ambition was no longer restrained. Although there was an emperor suppressing him in the imperial court, outside the imperial court, there was no one outside. However, outside of the imperial court, Yilantian was the most powerful one. As long as he could unify the forces in the city and make everyone work for him, he would become the second emperor of the Saint Flame Empire. However, on the surface, some things were going on as per normal. Cough cough, I heard that the people we are going to face this time are also some extremely fierce people. Mu Qingyun saw that the atmosphere in the carriage was so quiet and could not help but feel a little awkward, so he spoke up. Who are they? Kuan Erishur immediately answered. Originally, it was very difficult for Kuan Erishur to cultivate so quietly. Although it could be said that he had been working hard recently, Kuan Arashi's character was more impatient. If there were no results in a short period of time, he would become anxious and irritated. At this moment, he happened to be at a bottleneck. When he heard someone speak, he took the opportunity to step down. Although this competition was set up by the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion, the biggest organizer is the Four Seas Medicine Hall. Just in the Four Seas Medicine Hall alone, there are two particularly powerful people that we are going to face. Mu Qingyun said. Mo Suli and Shui Yu both raised their heads when he mentioned this important and powerful figure. They seemed to be attracted by the content of Mu Qingyun's words. Which two? Jiang Bieyuan from the Jiang family and Qi Yanran from the Qi family. It's actually the two of them. Kuan Arashi's face was instantly filled with shock, as if he had seen something unbelievable. Mu Qingyun also looked at Kuan Erishur very curiously. You know them? Logically speaking, Kuan Castle should have very little information about this place. Even if they were famous, they might not be famous in Kuan Castle. No. Kuan Erishur said decisively. Cough, cough. Let's talk about Jiang Bieyuan from the Jiang family first. Everyone knows that the Jiang family's ancestral home is in Qingzhou. Qingzhou has a lot of water, and it's said that Jiang Bieyuan refined pills in water when he was 5 years old. Moreover, he refined pills with ice flames, and the results were remarkable. The water-type pills that he refined had twice the effect of ordinary pills. This is an extremely powerful talent. Jiang family. The Jiang family from Qingzhou. One of the four great families. Shui Yu suddenly remembered and said. Lady Shui Yu, have you heard of them? Of course. I heard that the Jiang family of Qingzhou has a handsome guy that's hard to come by in 10,000 years. His name is Jiang Bieyuan. Wow, I've wanted to meet him for a long time. Shui Yu's heart was instantly filled with excitement. Seeing Shui Yu's excitement, Kuan Erishur was extremely disdainful and blew on his hair. Actually, when I was in Kuan Castle, everyone called me a handsome guy. Blurg. Mu Qingyun never thought that the person sitting beside her would be so thick-skinned. As for Qi Yanran, although there's not much information about her, she's definitely the trump card of the Four Seas Medicine Mansion. Even Jiang Bieyuan can only be ranked second. When it came to Qi Yanran, there wasn't much information about her. However, these few words had already ignited the battle intent in the eyes of the two women. I've heard of her name. If there's a chance, I'd like to try her out and see how powerful she is. Mo Suli said faintly. It seemed that a cold aura had already been released before the battle started. Then she's definitely not your opponent. Mu Qingyun suddenly said with a smile. Then, her eyes turned serious. However, if we're talking about the real threat, it's still the two people from the Purple Pill Institute. You should know one of them. He's the disciple of the Southern Heaven Pill King, Nye Tianhong. It's said that this person's potential is even stronger than the Southern Heaven Pill King. Even the Southern Heaven Pill King has personally admitted it. The other person is Meng Yu from the world's #1 villa, Qingyuan Villa. Qingyuan Villa. When he heard this name, Li Zhongjiu, the only one who didn't express his opinion, opened his eyes. "Brother Li, do you know anything about this Meng Yu?" Meng Yu came from the Qin Yuan villa. His strength was a mystery. In the Purple Pill Institute, his ranking was very ordinary. He was even in the middle and lower levels. However, just this signboard alone was enough to influence a lot of things. "I don't know," Li Zhongjiu said faintly. "However, he's dead." After saying that, Li Zhongjiu closed his eyes again. Chapter 392. Li Zhongjiu, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke, as if he had already sentenced Meng Yu to death. This kind of personality was really quite cool. However, Mu Qinyun wasn't an ordinary person. He was from the military school. Since Li Zhongjiu was interested in Meng Yu and didn't know him, it meant that Li Zhongjiu was interested in Qingyuan Manor. Qingyuan Manor, which had been established by King Qingyuan, had made friends with many tyrants and attracted countless resources. It could be said that it had very few enemies and had a good reputation in the underworld. Mu Qinyun wasn't clear about the relationship between them, but he still paid careful attention to it. That kid is probably done for. Kuan Erasher couldn't help but mourn for Meng Yu, whom he had yet to meet. Others didn't know Li Zhongjiu's strength, but Li Zhongjiu had clearly displayed it in front of him. Before he could see clearly, he had already killed a Yuan monarch. This was akin to a soldier who had just joined the army rushing into a general's tent and chopping off the general's head in a few moves. This was enough to give people a great shock. Therefore, after Li Zhongjiu said this, Kuan Erasher knew that this guy was definitely going to die. However, Mo Suli and the others still didn't believe it. After all, this guy was a disciple from the number 1 manor. Who knew if he had some life-saving skills? He wasn't someone who could be defeated so easily. In the eyes of Mo Suli and the others, Li Zhongjiu only meant that he was going to lose when he said he was going to die. They didn't think that Li Zhongjiu would really kill someone on such an important occasion. Right now, they were going to participate in a competition, not an alchemy battle. There was nothing wrong with killing someone on the alchemy battle stage. However, in an open and fair competition, there was a need to stop when it came to blows. The carriage gradually slowed down and finally stopped at the foot of a mountain. "We're here." They got off the carriage. The Four Seas Medicine Manor was really rich and overbearing. They had directly booked the few mountains nearby to plant spiritual herbs and cultivate spiritual energy. At the same time, they had also invited an elemental rune master to carve elemental runes to nurture the spiritual weapons on the surrounding mountains, ensuring that the spiritual energy within the mountains was stronger than the outside world. This way, the spiritual herbs planted on the mountains would form a virtuous cycle. However, they would have to pay a huge price to maintain it in the early stages. This Four Seas Medicine Manor is really rich and overbearing. There was a mountain gate at the foot of the mountain with the words Four Seas Medicine Manor engraved on it. There were already people waiting in front of the road. When they saw that the people from the Heaven City's Medicine Manor had arrived, they hurriedly came forward to greet them. "Welcome, teachers and students of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor," Sun Yu went forward to welcome them. Li Zhongjiu was not interested in what they were saying. He sized up the surrounding mountain gates. The layout of the mountain gates was extremely ingenious. The surrounding mountain gates formed a flow of yuan qi between each mountain gate. During the construction period, they must have invited a few experts. In his previous life, Li Zhongjiu's growth was slow. It was almost 1,000 years later that he gradually started to grow. Therefore, he did not have the opportunity to come into contact with some of the big shots within these 1,000 years. However, his rebirth had given Li Zhongjiu a chance. In his previous life, his attainments in elemental runes were not strong and he only knew a little. However, in this era, there were many origin rune grandmasters. In a calamity later on, most of the origin rune grandmasters died. They didn't even have the time to leave behind their inheritances before dying. Therefore, in the later period, Li Zongjiu didn't have many opportunities to learn this origin rune array. Who is the master who set up this place? Li Zongjiu asked. Mu Qingyan's eyes were also filled with a trace of longing and respect. The Four Seas Medicine Manor invited Master Xianqing from Xianqing Mountain to set up the array here. It is said that it took Master Xianqing 3 months to set up this place. Only then was it completed. Mu Qingyan said. Xianqing Mountain, Master Xianqing. So it's him. This figure suddenly appeared in Li Zongjiu's mind. One must know that under such circumstances, how strong was he to be able to name a mountain peak after himself? This was not a random boast. Master Xianqing could be considered as one of the top experts in the world. Everyone, please. The person who came to receive the guests from the Four Seas Medicine Manor was extremely proud. After all, this was the foundation of the Four Seas Medicine Manor. With this display, it was also an invisible announcement. It was telling these people that the strength of the Four Seas Medicine Manor was not weak. Behind him, the sound of a carriage rang out. When he turned around, he saw that it was the carriage of the Purple Pill Academy. There were banners and signs outside the carriage of the Purple Pill Academy, as if they were afraid that they would not know that the people of the Purple Pill Academy had come out. Similarly, 7 people came down from the carriage of the Purple Pill Academy. The 2 mentors who led the team looked relatively young. At the very least, they were definitely considered young in front of these old men. Therefore, when these people appeared, it was a little surprising. When they saw the mentors that they led, the atmosphere was indeed a little tense. After all, the sharpness of young people intertwined with each other. It was a very dangerous thing. If they were not careful, they would collide with each other. Good morning, seniors. My Purple Pill Academy has brought a few incompetent students to pay a visit. One of the slightly older people came forward and said. The uniform of the Purple Pill Academy was also purple. The uniforms of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor students were also slightly more blue. Of course, it was also absolutely obvious that the cost of the clothes on these people was not cheap. Oh, the people of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor have also arrived. I didn't recognize you just now. The man walked to the front of Sun Yu and looked at Sun Yu with a puzzled face. He did not know who Sun Yu was, so he was a little puzzled in his heart. However, anyone could see that he was just trying to show off his strength to Sun Yu. This old man is just an idle person in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. This time, I came to participate in the competition and have seen the education of the Purple Pill Academy. Indeed, you are a mountain among men. Sun Yu said faintly. He was not angry nor anxious. You flatter me. It's not early anymore. Let's go in early. The mentor of the Purple Pill Academy had a little background. He was also a little famous in this city. He was even famous in the place where he came from. It was said that this person had obtained the inheritance of an ancient pill king. Therefore, his strength was also very strong. His name was Zhang Quan. Arrogant Zhang Quan. After Zhang Quan finished speaking, he waved his hand and led the 5 disciples behind him to walk forward. It was obvious that the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor was the first to arrive. However, they had taken the initiative. This made people a little angry. If they were to talk about who came first, they should be the last to arrive. Yang Xuelin was very angry. However, Sun Yu did not seem to care. Looking at Sun Yu's appearance, Yang Xuelin could not say anything. Otherwise, people would think that the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor was not united. Who among you is from the Qing Yuan Manor? Li Zongjiu suddenly asked. That group of people immediately stopped in their tracks, and all of their gazes landed on the second person. The position that this person was walking at was actually in front of the second instructor. His identity was immediately clear as day. This person was Meng Yu. Meng Yu's eyes were deep, calm and ethereal. It was as if he could merge with the world at any time. This was an extremely high realm. No wonder they did not fight for fame and fortune in the Purple Pill Academy. It was because Meng Yu's realm had surpassed them by too much. I am. Meng Yu also saw Li Zongjiu and said indifferently. Wait for your death. Li Zongjiu said. Chapter 393. When Li Zongjiu said those words, no one understood Li Zongjiu's intention. Even Mu Qingyun and the others who were talking to Li Zongjiu were shocked. Even if you really want to challenge him, it seems that you said those words a little too early. Moreover, it sounded a little weird. There was no enmity between you and the other party, but you actually asked him to die. However, those words were definitely enough to intimidate the other party. When he heard Li Zongjiu's words, even Meng Yu was shocked. Hehe, alright. If you have the ability, then bring it on. Meng Yu didn't seem to want to keep a low profile like before. When he heard Li Zongjiu's words, the corner of his mouth curled up into a sneer. He was just a fool who wanted to reach the heavens in a single step. He thought that he could become the focus of everyone's attention after defeating him. Little did he know that he was just a frog at the bottom of a well. How could he have seen how powerful the experts outside were? Brother Mu, your friend is really interesting. Let's meet at the pill arena. The aura of the person who spoke was also extraordinary. His face seemed to be indifferent and detached from the world. It was as if he came to the sacred flame royal city to gain experience and not to fight. The journey that was difficult for others didn't even exist for him. It was as if he was just playing a game. Moreover, from the looks of it, he seemed to know Mu Qingyun. Brother Nye, don't worry. This friend of mine will definitely exceed your expectations. Mu Qingyun said with a faint smile. It was impossible to imagine Li Zongjiu's terrifying strength. Even if he said it out loud, these people wouldn't dare to believe it. In other words, Hu Fei was nothing in their eyes. If they were in Li Zongjiu's place, they could also kill Hu Fei. It was just a trick. Therefore, Li Zongjiu was not a big deal. The group of people from the Purple Pill Academy continued to walk towards the mountain peak. Similarly, regardless of whether it was the Purple Pill Academy or the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor, neither of them put the Four Seas Medicine Manor in their eyes. They only thought that the Four Seas Medicine Manor was merely a foil to the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor and did not pose any threat to them. Therefore, the Purple Pill Academy needed to challenge the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor for the #1 position. That person is Nantian Dan King's disciple, Nye Tianhong. He's still terrifyingly strong. Mu Qingyun said. Even if he didn't say it, the others could guess it. Among the many people present, only Li Zongjiu didn't care about the other party's identity. He didn't care about the other party's identity. If he wanted you dead, he would say it directly on the spot. If you didn't like it, you could choose to commit suicide on the spot. This way, Li Zongjiu wouldn't have to do it himself. You don't have to worry too much about it. They have already been studying in their own institutions for a long time, while you have just entered the school. What you are competing with is only your own talent. Yang Xuelin said when she saw that the morale of the crowd was low. She said this in order to comfort them. Even Yang Xuelin suspected that the reason why the school sent them out was to train them. After all, this kind of thing was very normal. Victory and defeat were commonplace in a military battle. The key point for a strong person was not to be defeated or lose, but to be able to stand up quickly after a defeat, face one's predicament again, reflect on oneself, and then win again. Only in this way could one become a strong person. Li Zongjiu's group was very powerful when they entered Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Therefore, Heavenly Star Medicine Manor sent them out on purpose to let them see the experts from other institutions and let them know. This world was a world with many experts. Yang Xuelin naturally knew this. However, they were still geniuses after all. They needed to be carefully protected. What if they could not recover from a setback? Let's go up the mountain, Sun Yu said. In the eyes of the crowd, Sun Yu was definitely a super expert who pushed the responsibility to others. He only needed to take care of his own matters. As for fighting for the glory of the institution, he would leave it all to Li Zongjiu and the rest. He gave off the feeling that he was in charge of bringing people here. After the competition, he would directly bring them back. That was the feeling. Although Yang Xuelin was a little worried, she knew Sun Yu's character. He was a person who focused on cultivation. However, he was ordered to come out of the mountains to do these things in the face of danger. Therefore, there was no other way now. Let's see how things go first. Under the guidance of the 4 C's Medicine Manor's mentors, the group first arrived at the banquet hall. They would have a meal first before starting the competition. It was more of an exchange between the 3 institutions. The elders of Heavenly Pill Pavilion also arrived later. There were a total of 5 tables in the banquet hall. The disciples each had a table, the mentors had a table, and there was also a reserved table. The people from Purple Pill Academy happened to be sitting at the table opposite Li Zongjiu and the rest. When Meng Yu saw Li Zongjiu, a trace of darkness flashed in his eyes. Although in his opinion, Li Zongjiu was just a frog at the bottom of a well, being threatened by a frog at the bottom of a well in public would definitely make him unhappy. Now that they were at the dining table, he had the intention to humiliate Li Zongjiu. Immediately, Meng Yu held the wine cup in his hand and walked towards Li Zongjiu. I heard that in Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, there is a disciple who can kill his own master. I, Meng Yu, have never seen such a person in my life. Therefore, I would like to see who it is. Meng Yu was obviously here to provoke. He was referring to the matter of Li Zongjiu killing Hu Fei. Although this matter was obvious to everyone, it happened in the alchemy battle stage. However, for them, such a matter could at least be investigated. After all, even in the alchemy battle stage, Li Zongjiu, as a disciple, killed a mentor of the Purple Pill Academy. Such a matter was indeed hard to believe. They couldn't even believe it. If the Heavenly Day Medicine Manor decided to investigate this matter further, they would definitely expel Li Zongjiu from the manor. Everyone looked at Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu took a mouthful of food and looked at Meng Yu in front of him. He did not say anything and simply ignored him. This caused Meng Yu to feel a little awkward standing there. I heard that it's a brother called Li Zongjiu. I guess this must be brotherly, right? Meng Yu came in front of Li Zongjiu and said. It's rare to see such a courageous person. Come, I, Meng Yu, propose a toast to you. After saying that, Meng Yu raised his cup and waited for Li Zongjiu to drink with him. Meng Yu's cup hung in the air while Li Zongjiu acted as if he didn't hear anything. As for Mu Qingyun and the others, they were extremely arrogant. Seeing that Meng Yu was embarrassed, they didn't step forward to give him a way out. After all, they were in the same group as Li Zongjiu. Therefore, this matter had nothing to do with them. On the contrary, they wanted to see how Meng Yu would end up after provoking Li Zongjiu. Brotherly, I, Meng Yu, came with sincerity. Don't tell me that the Heavenly Day Medicine Manor is filled with petty people like you. After saying that, Meng Yu patted Li Zongjiu's shoulder. At the same time, he had directly labeled the people of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor as such petty people. No one would feel comfortable with that. There was some distance between the teacher's table and the matters between the young people were usually settled by the young people. Suddenly, Meng Yu felt that his hand was empty. His hand that was on Li Zongjiu's shoulder suddenly sank. Meng Yu immediately became alert. Li Zongjiu seemed to want to make a move on him. He couldn't be careless. However, even if Meng Yu was on guard, it was already too late. Li Zongjiu suddenly threw out a chopstick, which directly pierced through Meng Yu's palm and nailed his hand to the table in front of him. Blood dripped from Meng Yu's hand. Meng Yu didn't dare to believe that Li Zongjiu dared to make a move in front of everyone. You're courting death. The pain of having his hand pierced through was not too much for Meng Yu. However, being injured by Li Zongjiu was the biggest humiliation for Meng Yu. Just when Meng Yu was about to kill Li Zongjiu in anger, he suddenly saw a black shadow rushing towards him. Slap! Li Zongjiu's slap landed on Meng Yu's face with a burning sensation. The whole audience was stunned. Even if they knew that Li Zongjiu was not to be trifled with, Meng Yu's identity was also not simple. Moreover, his strength was also extremely tyrannical. However, in front of Li Zongjiu, he didn't even have the slightest strength to fight back. This slap could be said to be loud and clear. No one had ever heard such a crisp sound before. It was simply incomparably shocking. Fuck! Even across the table, he could feel the burning pain on his face. Lan Kun frowned. Naturally, he knew how powerful Li Zongjiu's slap was. Wasn't it a little too ferocious? Looking at the bright red handprint on Meng Yu's face. Kun Erasure also mourned for Meng Yu in his heart. You poor guy. You obviously knew that Li Zongjiu was a string of firecrackers, but you still wanted to light it. Now, you got slapped for nothing. Could it be that you still want to fight against Li Zongjiu? That's almost impossible. Li Zongjiu, what are you doing? Nye Tianhong and the others immediately stood up. The people of the Four Seas Medicine Manor also hurriedly watched the show. Although they were the hosts, seeing these two arrogant guests killing each other made them secretly happy. In the future, don't casually put your hand on someone's shoulder. First, measure your own strength. Li Zongjiu patted Meng Yu's head twice as if he was scolding a child. Chapter 394. However, how could Meng Yu endure this slap? Immediately, his eyes turned red. There was a beast-like roar coming from his mouth. At this moment, Li Zongjiu slapped Meng Yu's face again. Slap! Meng Yu did not have the slightest strength to fight back because his hand was nailed to the table by a chopstick. Therefore, Meng Yu could not even use his yuan power. Therefore, Li Zongjiu's slap easily landed on his face. This slap caused Meng Yu to spit out a mouthful of blood, and a tooth flew out. Then, a buzzing sound came from his head. His eyes lost their luster, and he lay on the ground, unable to move. Meng Yu fell to the ground and was knocked unconscious by Li Zongjiu's slap. From this, it was clear that the power of this attack was extremely terrifying. It was simply unbelievable. What was even more unbelievable was that Li Zongjiu dared to do this. It was shocking. Li Zongjiu, does your Heavenly Star Medicine Manor want to start a war with us? Nye Tianhong suddenly roared. His own people were slapped to the ground, and now he was going to be polite with you. What's wrong? Do you want to fight? Kun Erasure was the first to stand up. Come on, I've had enough of you weird guys for a long time. The second one to stand up was none other than Li Zongjiu's Shuiyu. At this moment, Shuiyu stood up. She was also quite domineering. She stepped on her stool and looked as if she wanted to see the world in chaos. She looked as if she was afraid that they wouldn't attack. This kind of person who took pleasure in other people's misfortune and didn't mind making trouble was really suitable for this kind of scene. Although Mu Qinyun and Mo Suli did not say anything, they also turned to each other. If the other party wanted to fight, then there was nothing to be afraid of. However, they were all alchemists, and if they had to use their fists to solve this problem, it would be a bit of a loss. I couldn't tell that you have guts despite being so small. I like it. Kun Erasure looked at Shuiyu, who was beside him. He was surprised that Shuiyu could stand up so quickly to support Li Zongjiu. Humph, I'm full of guts. Shuiyu said with a cold snort. She seemed to enjoy hearing Kun Arashi's words. The aura of both sides was not weak, and it looked like this scene was about to turn into a group fight between alchemists. As for the people from the Four Seas Medicine Manor, they were unable to sit still. The Jiang clan's Jiang Biayuan also stood up and hurriedly stood between the two parties. Everyone, please calm down. This is a banquet hall and not a pill refining platform. If you are interested in fighting to the death, then fighting here is a bit too degrading for your status. No matter what, you are all from a prestigious mansion. There is no need to flip the table like a hooligan, right? Jiang Biayuan's words caused both sides to swallow their anger. They provoked us first. Shui Yu pointed at the person opposite her and shouted. After the people from the Purple Pill Institute heard this, they were about to explode. We provoked them first. Why don't you take a look at who the person lying on the ground is? They actually dared to say that they made the first move. It was really shameless. At this moment, Li Zongjiu knocked on the table. It attracted everyone's attention as if he had something to say. Listen up, all of you. I'm not targeting your academy. I'm targeting this kid. Of course, if any of you want to become my enemy, I'll welcome you. However, I'm sure you'll be surprised by your outcome. Li Zongjiu calmly finished his words and explained why he did it. He explained why he was doing this. To tell the truth, it was because he had enmity with Meng Yu. However, when did Meng Yu know Li Zongjiu and form such a grudge? It was really unimaginable. What kind of deep hatred was there for Li Zongjiu to be so merciless? If you really have the ability, then let's meet on the alchemy platform. Nye Tianhong said coldly. Li Zongjiu's arrogance was due to his own strength. Perhaps Li Zongjiu's strength was more powerful, but they were all alchemists. Of course, they were best at alchemy. Now in the face of Li Zongjiu's provocation, they didn't relent. In the end, the people from the Purple Pill Institute suffered a loss and could only carry Meng Yu back. The appearance of this matter was really unexpected. No one knew what kind of mood Meng Yu would have after he woke up. However, everyone could see that there was going to be a good show. Was Li Zongjiu more powerful or the people from the Purple Pill Institute more ferocious? Looking at Meng Yu being beaten until he fainted, the people from the Purple Pill Institute couldn't do anything. Even when they looked at Li Zongjiu's eyes, they didn't dare to get close to him. They were in awe of this ruthless and decisive person. This kind of person was really terrifying. It seems like everyone is eating well. After the teachers finished eating, they came out from behind the screen. They were very satisfied when they saw that there was no conflict at the scene. It seemed like these geniuses didn't have any difficulties getting along with each other. Zhang Quan walked towards the table of the Purple Pill Institute. His face was slightly rosy. It seemed like he drank a lot during lunch. Even his mouth was full of the smell of alcohol. Zhang Quan saw a person lying on the table and suddenly frowned. What's wrong? Did Meng Yu drink a lot? How can he compete tonight? You guys are too presumptuous. Normally, Zhang Quan wouldn't dare to say this. After all, Meng Yu's identity wasn't simple. He was directly transferred from the Qin Yuan Mountain Villa. Although his background wasn't clear, even the Purple Pill Institute couldn't do anything about it. Moreover, Meng Yu's strength was also very strong. He was even stronger than the disciple of the South Heaven Dan King, Nye Tianhong. Of course, Nye Tianhong was also trying his best to catch up with Meng Yu. If he indulged himself just because he had the confidence to win, how could he achieve great things? He actually drank until he fainted. This made Zhang Quan extremely angry. Teacher. It's not like that, Nye Tianhong said hesitantly. They checked Meng Yu's body. The injury on his palm was already healed. As for the fact that he was still unconscious, it was because Li Zongjiu's slap had shaken his brain. Therefore, he needed to wait for his mind to calm down before he could wake up. There was a group of alchemists here, so his life wouldn't be in danger. He only needed to rest here for a while to wake up. However, at this time, the teachers came out and asked Zhang Kuang. At this time, there was no way to hide it. Although it was extremely embarrassing, Nye Tianhong had no choice but to tell the truth. Senior Meng Yu was knocked out by the people of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. He was knocked out by the people of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Hearing this, the whole place became silent. Yang Xuelin's eyes widened. She looked directly at Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu was the only one who could be so arrogant and directly knock out other people's students. Only Li Zongjiu could do such a thing. Most importantly, after doing it, he still made people feel that it was a matter of course. Zhang Kuang was also stunned when he heard this. The drunkenness in his mind also disappeared at this moment. He instantly woke up. What? Meng Yu was knocked out. And it was the people of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor who did it? What happened? The teachers of the Four Seas Medicine Manor immediately asked their students. When the two elders of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion saw this scene, they couldn't help but look at each other. What kind of situation was this? They actually made a move before the competition. How could there be such a bold student? Immediately, the faces of the two elders of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion sank. When the teachers of the Four Seas Medicine Manor heard the whole story from Jiang Biayuan, their eyes were filled with shock. However, they still walked to the front of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion elder and whispered a few words. Li Zongjiu did it. That Li Zongjiu. When they mentioned Li Zongjiu, the faces of the two elders of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion changed. The gloominess on their faces also disappeared. Instead, they became relaxed. It was as if they were prepared to deal with this matter as an ordinary matter. Young and hot-blooded, a little quarrel was a very normal thing. There was nothing to be surprised about. Zhang Kuang first went to check on Meng Yu's condition. Although his life wasn't in danger, if he wanted to wake up, it would still take some time. Then, he looked at the half of his face that was swollen like a pig's head. As the saying goes, hit someone but don't hit the face. This kind of action was too arrogant. This was clearly a provocation. Did they really think that Zhang Kuang was dead? Who did this? Get out here. Zhang Kuang walked to the front of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor and shouted. The veins on his neck were bulging. Even his fists were clenched so tightly that cracking sounds could be heard. As long as this person walked out, he would definitely use a cannon fist to smash this person into a fool. Teacher Zhang Kuang, before this matter is cleared up, it's better to calm down. When Yang Xuelin saw this, she sighed and walked out. As a teacher, of course, she had to protect her students. This matter has nothing to do with you. If a man dares to do something, then stand out. I want to see which arrogant person is more arrogant than me. Zhang Kuang roared. This scene was very familiar. When Kun Arisher and the others saw this, they remembered that at the bottom of the White Blaze Mountain, there was also a person who was so aggressive. He thought that he was strong and wanted to punish Li Zongjiu. In the end, he even went to the alchemy battle arena and lost his life. His ending was really tragic. I hit him. Is there a problem? A voice suddenly rang out. Li Zongjiu walked out and stood in front of Zhang Kuang. His eyes were filled with disdain. Chapter 395. No one had ever dared to talk back to him. Speaking of arrogance, who didn't know how arrogant he was in the Sacred Flame Royal City? Even in the Purple Pill Academy, the name of this alchemy fanatic was extremely resounding. No one had ever dared to talk back to him. Even if there were one or two people who didn't know what was good for them, they would usually be dealt with in the end. Now that he saw a 16-year-old young man who dared to be so arrogant in front of him, he couldn't believe it. Zhang Kuang's expression suddenly became interesting. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. The moment he sneered, the surrounding chill also fell. Enough, Zhang Kuang. Li Zongjiu is a disciple of my Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. What do you want? The one who spoke was none other than Sun Yu. Unexpectedly, Sun Yu, who didn't like to meddle in things, actually took the initiative to stand up. Obviously, he wanted to take on the responsibility of being a mentor. If he had to watch Zhang Kuang teach Li Zongjiu a lesson, where would Sun Yu put his face? Where would the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor put their face? The corners of Zhang Kuang's eyes were about to explode. Li Zongjiu had beaten up his student. How could he let Li Zongjiu off so easily? Even if Sun Yu appeared, it would be useless. He had to capture Li Zongjiu and teach him a lesson. At this moment, the aura in Zhang Kuang's body gradually gathered. It seemed like he was about to take action. However, Sun Yu didn't give in. When it came to taking action, although he was old, he wasn't afraid of taking action. Stop! Finally, the elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion walked out. He couldn't let the teachers of these two prestigious schools fight with each other in front of so many people. Wouldn't that be a huge joke? How improper it is to do it in public. If there are any grudges, settle it in the alchemy field tonight. One of the elders, who had a long whip tied behind his head, said. This person was the current elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, Su Hong. As one of the current elders of the board, Su Hong's identity was obviously very important. Even his arrogant words had been heard by everyone. Although his heart was filled with anger, he could not help but stop. He suppressed the anger in his heart, withdrew his aura, and cupped his hands towards Su Hong. Since Elder Su Hong has spoken, let's meet on the pill forging platform tonight. Let's go. Zhang Kuang flicked his sleeves and said. Before he left, he stared at Li Zongjiu with a ferocious gaze. Do you have any other skills besides staring? Li Zongjiu could not help but ask. Why are there always people who like to stare? If you're really unhappy, then come up. I'll beat you up in minutes. If you don't come up, then I'll be too embarrassed to make a move. Hearing Li Zongjiu's words, Zhang Kuang clenched his fists. He did not want to argue with Li Zongjiu. After all, he was the one who was at a disadvantage. If he stopped now, he would not be able to get back his face. It was already very embarrassing. Therefore, he ignored Li Zongjiu's words. To outsiders, it looked more like a group of people leaving with their tails between their legs. It was really shocking. Why don't you guys beat everyone up? Then you don't have to compete anymore. Sun Yu was obviously a little angry. It seemed that Li Zongjiu was really too arrogant. He even dared to beat people up. If he was not taught well and continued to develop like this, then the situation would become worse. One day, Li Zongjiu would beat someone he couldn't beat. What would he do if he couldn't beat them? In the end, he could only be beaten to death. Therefore, for the sake of Li Zongjiu, he had to suppress Li Zongjiu's temper. Only this one of them made a move. The others didn't make a move. Li Zongjiu actually answered very seriously. If all the people on the other side made a move, then Li Zongjiu would not have the slightest mercy. He would kill everyone he saw. Not to mention Li Zongjiu, even Kun Erisher wouldn't be able to pass the test. There was also Shueyue, who was gloating. Although she looked like a quiet and cute little girl, if a fight really broke out, then her combat strength would not be too weak. You really want to beat them up? Sun Yu was simply about to die from anger. He had calmly cultivated for many years and had never suffered a loss. However, he was helpless when it came to Li Zongjiu. He wanted to directly seal Li Zongjiu's mouth. However, such a disciple was highly valued by the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Therefore, he couldn't just watch Li Zongjiu become a waste. This was the most important thing. Old Sun, you have to pay attention to the atmosphere. Elder Su Hong walked up and glanced at the situation in front of him. The most important thing was to size up Li Zongjiu. This kid was indeed as arrogant and fearless as the rumor said. He just didn't know what would happen to this guy after provoking Zhang Kuang. I will remember the elder's reminder. Sun Yu cupped his hands and said. After all, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was the official authority of the Purple Mansion dynasty. It could even be summed up in one sentence. Their function was to manage the alchemists here. If the Heavenly Dan Pavilion blacklisted you, then no one would dare to buy your dawn. You would be directly banned from the market. But if the Heavenly Dan Pavilion blacklisted you, then no one would dare to buy your dawn. If anyone dared to buy the elixirs of the blacklisted alchemists, then the Heavenly Pill Pavilion would find out and all the alchemists would no longer cooperate with you. These days, whoever controlled the resources was the boss. They could directly ban you. If anyone dared to disobey, then they would become the enemy of the Shengyan dynasty. You are Li Zongjiu. Su Hong looked at Li Zongjiu. He killed Hu Fei and refined a 5th-grade elixir. Such a talented person was quite a powerful person for Su Hong. However, Su Hong didn't find any news about Li Zongjiu in the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. There were often some talents who were strong enough to disdain following the shackles of the world. For example, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. They often had the idea that they didn't want to join. If the Heavenly Pill Pavilion begged you to join, then wouldn't it be a mess? I am Li Zongjiu, this is the elder chairman of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, Elder Su Hong. Yang Xuelin quickly said. If Li Zongjiu's temper was too big and offended Elder Su Hong, then it would have a great impact on their Heavenly Star Medicine manor. Therefore, at this time, they couldn't cause any trouble. Hee, no need to be so polite. The strong don't like to be restrained. You must be a strong person. If you are interested, then you can consider joining our Heavenly Pill Pavilion, hee. Su Hong was very good at judging people. He could tell that Li Zongjiu wasn't the kind of person who would lower his head at will. Even if that arrogant person looked at him, he would still be scolded. If this Su Hong thought that he was extraordinary and acted arrogantly in front of Li Zongjiu, then even if it was the Heavenly Dan Pavilion, it would be useless for him. However, Su Hong being so polite made Li Zongjiu feel a little better. I heard that the first-place alchemist will be granted the right to be granted land. Li Zongjiu asked. Since the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was taking the lead, of course, they had to take out some benefits. Only then would they be able to attract enough geniuses to jump out of the water. Of course, if you are the first place in this competition, then you will be granted a Heavenly Pill Pavilion's Imperial Alchemist token. With this token, you will be equal to a 4th-grade official. You will also be granted 1,000 acres of land and 3,000 mercenaries. If you can get this token, then you'll be at the same level as me. Su Hong said with a smile. Equal to Su Hong. Although it was impossible to have the same authority as Su Hong, at least with this status, who would dare to mess around? Oh. Interesting. Li Zongjiu's eyes were filled with interest. In his previous life, he was very powerful. He didn't care about these official positions at all. If he wanted, he could even sit on the dragon throne. However, after his rebirth, he knew the benefits of this thing. Of course, he wouldn't waste it. As for the so-called subservience to others, that didn't exist at all. If you were strong enough, who would dare to step on your head? If you weren't strong enough, even if you were the monarch of a country, you would only be a puppet. Therefore, in this situation where he could borrow power, he naturally had to make good use of it. However, many people wanted to be granted the right to be an imperial alchemist. In this situation where they could prove their strength and obtain benefits, it was naturally quite intense. I'll see you in the competition tonight. Do your best. Even if you are the 2nd or 3rd place, there will be generous rewards. We, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, will definitely not be stingy with the outstanding alchemists in the dynasty. Su Hong said. The eyes of all the young alchemists lit up as well. Hee, then I'll take 2nd place. Lon Kun thought to himself. It would be too troublesome if he had to compete with a freak like Li Zongjiu for the 1st place. Therefore, he could only settle for the 2nd best. However, when it came to the competition for second place, it was still quite intense. All the disciples gathered at the alchemy stage of the 4 C's medicine manor. This place looked just like an ordinary arena. However, there was a flame yuan inscription array carved on it that was able to gather flames. Under such a condition, one would be able to control the flames during the pill refinement process. There were also many seats around. Some of the disciples of the 4 C's medicine manor were also sitting in the spectator area, looking forward to the competition on the stage. Different from other academies, the number of disciples in the 4 C's academy was quite large. As long as one could pay the tuition fee, they would be allowed to enter to learn. Because of the abundant resources, they weren't afraid of wasting them. Therefore, as long as one came, if one accidentally activated his alchemy talent, it would be his own good fortune. Chapter 396. Li Zongjiu and the others were resting in a waiting room. Yang Xuelin was explaining the rules of the competition to them. Today's competition will be an elimination round. Every academy will send out 5 people, which is the 5 of you. In the knockout round, 3 people will go on stage at the same time. The 3 great academies will each send 1 person. The 3rd place will be eliminated on the spot. In other words, 5 people will be eliminated tonight. As students of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor, if you can't even pass the first round of the competition, you will have to deal with it yourself. Yang Xuelin said. However, it was very possible for them to lose the competition. However, they still had a chance. After all, 2 out of the 3 of them would advance, which gave them a great chance. Purple Pill Academy's resting place. Meng Yu woke up with a gloomy face. He, Meng Yu, grew up with a golden spoon in his mouth. He enjoyed the love and compliments of others. Later on, he was respected and revered. How could he be slapped in the face by such a person? Therefore, Meng Yu was extremely angry. Moreover, he was knocked unconscious in front of so many people. He was a person who would become a king in the future. Such a great insult was hard for Meng Yu to accept. Even now, no one dared to talk to him. He just sat there alone. He was breathing heavily. His whole body was surrounded by a gloomy and terrifying light. If he were to get close to him, he would be stabbed. If he was careless, he would not be able to complain. Don't worry. I have already inquired about the competition. Both sides will bathe in flames to refine pills. At that time, you will have the chance to do what you want to do. The most important thing now is to enter the finals. Bathing in flames to refine pills. Both sides were placed in flames to refine pills. Not only did they have to refine the pills successfully, but they also had to be careful of the flames. In such an environment, the situation of furnace explosion was very common. It was equivalent to refining pills in an extreme environment. Those who could succeed were naturally not ordinary people. Hearing those arrogant words, Meng Yu slightly raised his head, revealing a pair of terrifying eyes. I will not kill him. I will keep his life. I will slowly play with him, slowly torture him. I will let him know what it means to live a life worse than death. What it means to live a life worse than death. On the pill refining field. An instructor from the 4 C's medicine manor appeared in the arena. Glancing at the passionate students around him, he first gave an impassioned speech. At the same time, he also thanked the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. After a brief introduction, he began to move on to the main topic. The purpose of this exchange competition is to strengthen the interaction between the 3 great academies. You must stop when you're fighting. The first round of the competition has officially begun. The rules of this round are that each of the 3 great academies will send 1 person to the stage. The 3 of them will refine a designated elixir at the same time. The one who succeeds first will be the winner. In addition, the herbs and props provided in this round of competition are all from the 4 C's medicine manor. They have been inspected by the Heavenly Pill Pavilion elders and are absolutely fair. Behind him, 3 medicinal cauldrons were carried up by 3 strong men. In addition to the cauldron, there was also a stone table with some medicinal herbs on it. Any one of the medicinal herbs here was extremely precious, and within the 4 Seas Academy, the majority of the people rarely saw these precious medicinal herbs here. All of them became excited. Oh my God, they actually used the jade lotus core as a tool for the competition. Isn't this too extravagant? A jade lotus core outside is worth at least 500,000 gold coins. There are 3 on this table. What extravagance! Right now, only the students of the 4 Seas Medicine Manor were allowed to watch the competition. If it were to be open to the public and the people of the royal city came to watch, then ordinary people would not be able to imagine how terrifying the competition would be. It would be an act of burning money. Every single medicinal herb was incomparably precious. After a few rounds of the competition, the amount of medicinal herbs that were burned was also extremely terrifying. It was precisely because of this that the amount of funds needed to organize such a competition was also incomparably huge. If the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor were to pay for it, the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor would definitely not be willing. Although the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor's resources were abundant, most of them were invested in the students. Therefore, the academy could not be considered very wealthy. However, if one were to talk about the ability to cash in, any instructor from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor would be a terrifying money-sucking machine. As long as they spread the word, there would definitely be an endless stream of money rolling in. In the 4 Seas Academy, there were more disciples from the 4 great clans' businesses. They were all related to each other and some of them had extremely good relationships with each other. However, if one were to talk about money, the majority of them did not have the ability to do so. Seeing the medicinal herbs that were worth millions of gold coins placed on the table, they were all shocked. Their hearts were definitely shaken. Looking at the alchemists on the stage, a kind of high fighting spirit rose in everyone's hearts. There would be a day when they would be like them and possess powerful strength. The medicinal pills that they casually refined were all refined with incomparably precious medicinal herbs. The list of participants had already been prepared and submitted. Then, they would appear on the stage according to the order. No one knew who they would encounter. The Heavenly Star Medicine Manor was the first to go on stage. It was the Medicine Sovereign's disciple, Mo Su Li. As an influential figure in the royal city, the fame of Mo Su Li's name was obviously higher than Li Zhongjiu and the others. Moreover, the fame that Li Zhongjiu carried was not a positive influence in itself. As the disciple of the Medicine Sovereign, Mo Su Li herself was a peerless beauty. Her body carried a noble aura. When she walked out, she gave people a feeling of nobility. It was precisely this kind of lofty and otherworldly aura that caused the entire audience to cheer and sway. That's the Medicine Sovereign's disciple. My God, this aura is simply like a fairy descending to the mortal world. I want to be her fan. How good would it be if I could be friends with her? Countless people's eyes were also looking at Mo Su Li. Their saliva was about to drip out. If others were to see such a lecherous appearance, they would inevitably feel disdain. However, there was no other sound in the arena. After all, the majority of people also had such an appearance. Humph, I have to admit that she's indeed more elegant than me. Many girls who thought that they were beautiful felt a sense of inferiority in front of Mo Su Li's aura. They couldn't even raise their heads. Although Mo Su Li was also outstanding in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, the effect of her aura was not so strong. Now that she was here, her aura was released to the extreme. TSK, TSK, TSK. She really brings her own aura. Mu Qingyun, who was behind her, also praised. Such beauty should only exist in the heavens. I wonder who came out from the other 2 great academies. A tall man from the Purple Pill Academy walked up. The man looked a little thin and weak. His face was yellow and emaciated, giving off a feeling of malnutrition. It was as if a gust of wind would blow him away. However, the other party was not attracted by Mo Suli's aura. It was as if in his eyes, there was only the medicinal cauldron in front of him. As for women, he had no interest at all. If this person didn't guess wrongly, that should be Shi Shu from the Shi family. Rumor has it that this person is suffering from a terminal illness. Originally, he wouldn't be able to live past 15 years. However, this person doesn't believe in fate. He researched medicinal herbs and scriptures and actually managed to extend his life until now. If he had 2 more years, he might be able to find a cure for that terminal illness. Mu Qingyun was indeed worthy of being a disciple of an aristocratic family in the monarch city. He was very familiar with the origins of many people. For the Purple Pill Academy to send out such a valiant person, it must be because they wanted to directly take the first victory. However, when the contestant from the Four Seas Academy walked out, everyone from the Four Seas Academy was silent. They all used the most worshipful gaze to look at the white-clothed girl who slowly walked up to the alchemy platform. When she walked over, it was as if she didn't carry any weight or sound. It was as if no one could hear her. However, no one could ignore her. Senior Sister Yenran will win. Senior Sister Yenran will win. There were earth-shattering roars from the surroundings. This was the difference between home and away. Everyone around was the support group of the Four Seas Medicine Manor. Therefore, the opponent's momentum was huge. It was easy to form pressure. Under such pressure, it was inevitable that some mistakes would occur. Qi Yenran's expression was calm. Her expression was calm. There was a straw rope tied around her wrist. When she went up, she stood quietly in front of the cauldron that belonged to the Z family. She didn't say anything and just stood there. It's actually her. When Mu Qingyun saw Qi Yenran go up, his expression changed. It was obvious that Qi Yenran gave Mu Qingyun a lot of pressure. He deeply knew how terrifying Qi Yenran's strength was. In the Four Seas Medicine Manor, only Qi Yenran and Jiang Bieyuan could pose a threat to them. He didn't expect that the first one to go up would be Qi Yenran. It just so happened that she encountered a battle with Mo Suli. This competition was going to be exciting. Both of them had thousands of halos supporting them. What kind of sparks would be created when they collided in the arena? In comparison, Shi Shu seemed to be somewhat overshadowed. However, Li Zongjiu looked at Shi Shu with interest. He's quite amazing to be able to live until now with such a terminal illness. It wasn't a big deal to be able to have such achievements if he was born healthy and had talent. However, Shi Shu was different. He had such a terminal illness. If he didn't work hard, he might die. How could he not persevere? If I'm not wrong, Shi Shu's terminal illness is called the withered pulse disease. When an ordinary person is born, their body will be full of vitality. However, this withered pulse disease causes Shi Shu's vitality to rapidly fade from the moment he was born. Chapter 397. Hearing Li Zongjiu's words, Shueiyue looked at Li Zongjiu in astonishment. It was obvious that Li Zongjiu did not recognize the stone tree. Even before this, he had never heard of the stone tree's name. However, with just a glance, he was able to tell that the stone tree was suffering from an incurable disease. This fellow's eyesight was simply too good. That's right, it's the withered pulse disease. If it wasn't for his father's tyrannical Yuan force, Shi Shu wouldn't have the chance to grow up. Mu Qingyun sighed and said. It was too unfair. In comparison, they were working hard in their cultivation, hoping to achieve something. However, when they arrived at the stone tree, their life's efforts were all for the sake of survival. It's a pity. If he was born 500 years later, he wouldn't have to be like this. Li Zongjiu said faintly. 500 years later, someone would refine a kind of pill that could alleviate the symptoms of the withered pulse disease. Even after recuperating, Shi Shu could recover to his original state. However, looking at the current situation, he hadn't even overcome the problem in the Genius Pavilion. It would be very difficult for him to survive. With Shi Shu's current realm, he could only live for another half a year at most. Hey, your medical skills seem to be very good. The competition had already begun. Li Zhongjiu wasn't interested and sat at the side to cultivate. However, Shueiyue shamelessly approached him and asked. It's all right. I'm only slightly better than those Dan Kings and Dan Emperors. Li Zhongjiu said casually. When Yang Xuelin heard Li Zhongjiu's words, she immediately rolled her eyes at him. This brat was really shameless. How could he even say such words? If Mo Suli heard Li Zhongjiu's words, he would probably rush over and fight with his life. This matter was related to her master's reputation. It couldn't be used as a joke. Cough cough. You can't be too full of yourself. Keep a low profile. Yang Xuelin said. I am indeed stronger than them. If you don't believe me, then let them fight. Li Zhongjiu said directly. Then, how much do you need to pay for treatment? Shueiyue immediately asked. Her eyes sparkled as she looked at Li Zhongjiu with great anticipation. To see a doctor. We're all classmates, so it's fate. I'll just charge you 1 billion purple yuan. Li Zhongjiu said calmly. Last time, Shueiyue was the person who wanted to compete with him for the Azura Cauldron in the 7-star fire room. At that time, Shueiyue couldn't even take out 100 million purple yuan. Li Zhongjiu found this girl somewhat interesting. At the very least, her eyes showed that she believed in his strength, so he decided to give her a chance. If she could really take out so much money, then he would be merciful and help her once. Ever since he had been reborn, he had been overflowing with love. In his previous life, Li Zhongjiu didn't recognize anyone and didn't give face to anyone. After all, Li Zhongjiu didn't have any relatives. Therefore, it could be said that he had no scruples. This time, perhaps he could be considered to be truly responsible for his family. Li Zhongjiu, what illness do you need so much money for? Yang Xuelin was already somewhat dissatisfied. In her opinion, he was clearly bullying Shueiyue. Shueiyue was such a cute little girl, but now he was actually blackmailing her. Is this a lot of money? As long as I help, even if he still has a breath, I can guarantee that he will live to 100 years old. Li Zhongjiu said calmly. His reputation was out there. In his previous life, when Evil Lord helped him, it was a blessing that could only be cultivated for several lifetimes. They should quickly express their gratitude and obediently hand over the 1 billion purple yuan. Not to mention 1 billion, even if it was 10 billion purple yuan, they would fight to be the first and obediently hand over the money. There was no other reason than Li Zhongjiu's heaven-defying medical skills. No matter what kind of illness it was, as long as Li Zhongjiu's medicine was the right medicine for the illness, it could guarantee 100 years of life. Some of the nobles who were about to die couldn't wait to extend their lives. Some people were more afraid of death the longer they lived. I'll think of a way. Shueiyue said in a low voice. She could hear that Li Zhongjiu wasn't joking. Although Shueiyue didn't like Li Zhongjiu very much, she also thought that Li Zhongjiu was a capable person. More importantly, Li Zhongjiu was a man of his words. Since he dared to say so, he must have confidence. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, he must complete it. Shueiyue seemed to have something on her mind and walked to the side. 1 billion purple yuan was not a small amount. Even for a 5th-grade alchemist, if he wanted to raise so much money, he would have to refine at least 100 pills if he calculated it according to the price of a 5th-grade pill, which was 10 million purple yuan. In addition to the cost of the pill, there were also some losses in the case of failure. After all, not everyone could be like Li Zhongjiu, who could refine more than 50 5th-grade pills in one furnace. Li Zhongjiu was not short of money. The reason why he offered a price of 1 billion was just to give Shueiyue a threshold. There was no such thing as asking someone to do things for free. There had never been such a cheap thing. This Li Zongjiu is really arrogant. Yang Xuelin was almost angered to death by Li Zongjiu's arrogant attitude. After returning, he must have a good talk with Ling Yan and let Ling Yan punish Li Zongjiu properly. Li Zongjiu had only been here for a short period of time and he had actually beaten up the #1 genius of the Purple Pill Institute. If the situation developed according to the situation at that time, then if no one stopped him, it was estimated that he could beat up their mentors together. Qi Yanran completed it. And she also directly upgraded the 4th grade pill by 1 grade. Mu Qingyun suddenly said in shock. It had only been about 20 minutes. A single grade 4 medicinal pill was successfully refined. That speed was simply world-shocking. Most importantly, the medicinal ingredients that were originally only capable of concocting an initial rank for medicinal pellet, in addition to the fact that the pill formula itself was an initial rank for medicinal pellet. In the hands of Qi Yanran, it was directly refined into a 4th grade pill. What a terrifying strength! Mu Qingyun looked at Mo Suli. Mo Suli was obviously a little affected. After watching Qi Yanran hand over the pill, he directly turned around and left, as if he didn't treat anyone as an opponent. He didn't treat the people on the stage as an opponent of the same level, so he just turned around and left. Humph! Mo Suli immediately sped up. At the 28th minute, he was a step stronger than Shu and successfully refined the pill. However, the quality of the pill itself didn't have too many accidents. At the 30-minute mark, Shu had also successfully refined the pill. All 3 contestants completed the refinement of a primary grade 4 medicinal pill within 30 minutes. And the most terrifying one was naturally Qi Yanran. Not only did the quality of the pill increase by 1 grade, but also relatively speaking, the speed was nearly 1/3 faster. Next time, I won't lose to you. Mo Suli's eyes flashed with a trace of light. If they were refining the same pill, Qi Yanran's speed was actually twice as fast as his. With such strength, how could they contend against him? Mu Qingyun and the others also felt great pressure. That woman is too terrifying. Kuan Erasher also swallowed his saliva. Obviously, he was extremely shocked by Qi Yanran's strength. In less than 20 minutes, he had completed the refinement of a middle grade level 4 pill. Moreover, it was under such conditions. This showed that the purity of the herbs refined by Qi Yanran was far beyond the other 2 contestants. At the beginning, she gave everyone a show of strength, and a strong pressure was hanging over everyone's head. The following matches were still the same, but everyone's opponents were different. Some opponents that were worthy of attention also came out one after another. Kuan Erasher encountered Meng Yu, who was beaten into a pig head by Li Zongjiu. One had to admit that Meng Yu's strength was very strong. The other contestant from the 4 Seas Academy naturally became cannon fodder. In this round, Kuan Erasher and Meng Yu advanced. However, Kuan Arashi's performance was below Meng Yu's. Meng Yu also used 20 minutes to refine the pill. However, the quality did not reach the 4th grade middle grade. However, this did not hinder Meng Yu's strength. The strength that he displayed also became the object of everyone's admiration. They did not expect that the Purple Pill Academy did not have such an expert. The 3rd contestant was Mu Qingyun. His appearance also caused quite a stir because his opponent was the famous handsome guy from the 4 Seas Academy, Jiang Bieyuan. The people from the Purple Pill Academy naturally became cannon fodder. In the 4th match, the Heavenly Day Medicine Manor sent Shuiyu, while the Purple Pill Academy sent Nye Tianhong. The 4 Seas Medicine Manor's contestant was also not weak. He almost defeated Shuiyu. However, Shuiyu also directly refined the pill at the crucial moment. He was ranked below Nye Tianhong. The other contestant left the stage regretfully. Up until now, the 4 students from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor had passed without any mishaps. The 2 trump cards from each of the other academies had also stood out from the rest. On the contrary, the strongest contestant on the other side, Li Zongjiu, was only facing 2 contestants who came to make up the numbers. Naturally, winning was not a strange thing. Li Zongjiu did not deliberately control the refining speed. In the end, he completed the refining in 25 minutes. This result was not bad, but it was also not outstanding. The other contestant who won was Lu Zhao from the Purple Pill Academy. His luck was relatively good to be able to rush into the second round. If he met the experts from the other academies, and there were 2 of them, he would probably be dead. However, he was able to succeed this time because of luck. When Lu Zhao heard that he had won, he also breathed a sigh of relief. Up until now, the most eye-catching contestants were naturally Mo Suli, Xue Yu, and Qi Yanran. Although Xue Yu's beauty was not as exaggerated as these 2, Xue Yu also had a kind of cute personality. She gave people the feeling of a little sister next door, which attracted many admirers. At this point, the first round of the competition also came to an end. Chapter 398. That night, they were arranged to rest in the Four Seas Medicine Mansion. It was indeed an academy that was heavily commercialized. Even in the depths of the mountains and forests, there was a commercial district with several luxurious inns in the commercial district. In such an enclosed academy, there were still inns specially set up. No one knew what the academy was thinking. However, this specially constructed commercial street was mostly filled with delicacies and music venues. The 5 Elements Yuan Loft had also been successfully moved into it. There were also many medicinal herb shops. The Four Seas Medicine Mansion is really smart. Even if they can't nurture some powerful alchemists, they can at least earn enough money. Kuan Erisher and the others walked around the commercial district. Compared to this bustling street, their Heavenly Dawn Medicine Mansion was really a rural place. In addition, it occupied a relatively large area and there weren't many people. Basically, people came and went in a hurry. As for the Four Seas Academy, just the number of students alone exceeded 20,000. In addition to the exorbitant tuition fees, they also specially opened up a commercial district for them. When they had nothing to do and didn't want to cultivate, they would come to these inns to spend money. No wonder the Four Seas Medicine Mansion is getting richer and richer. It's really amazing. Mu Qingyun had previously heard of the Four Seas Medicine Mansion's business model. However, he had never imagined that the Four Seas Medicine Mansion could be said to be packed with people. However, along the way, there were people leading the way. Moreover, the luxurious inn that they were staying in had also been specially cleared out. The place that they chose was also relatively secluded. Originally, they were going to arrange it together with the Purple Pill Academy. However, during the day, they saw that the 2 academies seemed to have great enmity with each other. Therefore, they made a temporary adjustment. Since there was food and shelter, of course, they would stay. After all, it was very inconvenient to go in and out. Li Zongjiu returned to his room. He originally wanted to cultivate the white god Fu. However, when he circulated his mental strength, he felt that there seemed to be something in the middle of the 4 mountains of the Four Seas Medicine Mansion that was calling out to him. To be precise, it was attracting him. What a strong mental attraction. Li Zongjiu's mental power spread out and scanned the Four Seas Herb Mountains. He immediately understood the situation of the Four Seas Herb Mountains. And the place where this summons came from was the deepest of the Four Seas Herb Mountains. Halfway up the mountain. Immediately, Li Zongjiu leaped out of the room and soared into the air. He used the hidden dragon art to conceal his aura. Boom! Li Zongjiu's figure shot out and landed on the herb mountain. When Li Zongjiu sneaked in, he clearly felt 2 auras on the mountain, but they did not find Li Zongjiu's figure. After all, Li Zongjiu's hidden dragon art was also a high-level technique, and it was not so easy to see through it. Halfway up the mountain, there was a medicinal spring. The birth of this medicinal spring was a very accidental situation, and the method of its birth was not studied deeply. As a disciple of the Qi clan, Qi Yanran would definitely have a better environment if she cultivated in the Qi clan. However, she was willing to come to the Four Seas Herb Mansion to cultivate. Firstly, she wanted to make the Four Seas Herb Mansion famous, and let the Four Seas Herb Mansion have a few capable people. Secondly, Qi Yanran came for this medicinal spring. This herb mountain had been listed as a forbidden area, and 2 elders of the Qi clan were arranged to guard this place to prevent any unexpected situations from happening. This was because Qi Yanran of the Qi clan would cultivate here every night. The effects of the medicinal spring could directly increase Qi Yanran's affinity with the medicinal herbs. It was this affinity that allowed Qi Yanran's alchemy skills to soar. In addition to her innate talent, she was in a transcendent state. There were probably few opponents in Royal City who could match her. The way to cultivate was naturally to dive into the medicinal spring, sit in the water, and use the power of the medicinal spring to nourish one's skin. From the skin, the power would gradually permeate into the body. Such a strange medicinal spring naturally made Qi Yanran happy. However, Qi Yanran, who was cultivating today, felt that the flow of qi and blood in her body was not very smooth. However, she just treated it as a small problem and did not pay attention to it. If you continue to cultivate, you will die in less than 3 months. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Qi Yanran immediately opened her eyes. Killing intent bloomed in her eyes, but she did not dare to move. Who is it? Come out. The color of the medicinal spring could hide Qi Yanran's body. However, if she jumped out of the medicinal spring directly, she would definitely be seen by the other party. Therefore, Qi Yanran was rooted to the spot. This was a forbidden area of the Qi family and the entrance was guarded by the 2 great elders of the Qi family. No one was allowed to get close to this place. Who exactly was the intruder who was able to sneak past the 2 great elders' defenses and seal? If you continue to be so rude, I will use a shadow recording stone to record the moment you came out of the bath and sell it on the black market. Li Zhongjiu smiled evilly as he walked out of the darkness. Even at night, he could still see that Qi Yanran's skin was as white as snow. Upon hearing Li Zhongjiu's shameless threat, Qi Yanran's eyes flashed with a cold light. A cold light flashed in Qi Yanran's eyes, but she did not panic like an ordinary woman. Instead, she calmly looked at Li Zhongjiu. At the same time, there was a hint of ridicule in her eyes. Do you think that you can still leave this place alive? Qi Yanran said indifferently. What else can you do? Do you think that the 2 peak sky origin ancestor level old men at the entrance can do so? Or are you a grade 3 sky origin ancestor? The corners of Li Zhongjiu's mouth twitched as he continued to mock her. Upon hearing Li Zhongjiu's words, a trace of panic appeared on Qi Yanran's face. It seemed that Li Zhongjiu had investigated her for a long time and had made sufficient preparations. Otherwise, he would not be so clear about her and even know her strength. He must have invited an expert to investigate her. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to know her yuan power cultivation. In other words, Li Zhongjiu had other helpers by his side. What do you want? Qi Yanran asked calmly. It was useless to panic. The most important thing was to quickly find a way to escape. As for Li Zhongjiu's identity, she was not very clear about it. However, at the very least, Li Zhongjiu was not from the Four Seas Medicine Manor. If he was from the Four Seas Medicine Manor, he would definitely not dare to come close to this place. This was because they knew that once they came close to this place, they would have to bear the consequences. It would definitely be quite tragic and was not something that they could bear. Don't be nervous. I'm here to save you. Such a good seedling cannot be wasted. Get up first. Li Zhongjiu said as he turned around. Seeing Li Zhongjiu's actions, Qi Yanran clearly did not believe him. He was obviously trying to trick her. How could she be so easily fooled? She was not a fool. Don't worry. I have no interest in a little girl like you. With Li Zhongjiu's 3,000 years of experience, what kind of people had he not seen before? He had supreme strength and could get anything he wanted. Could it be that he would miss a little girl like you? How laughable. Qi Yanran snorted coldly in her heart. He had no interest in a little girl. Could it be that he was interested in some old women? Although she did not believe it, she knew that this was an excellent opportunity. Immediately, Qi Yanran's body sank into the medicinal spring. At the same time, she put on the clothes. Then, she jumped out of the water. Although she was soaked, she only needed to circulate her yuan qi to dry her clothes. It was a simple matter. Qi Yanran's body landed on the ground. The clothes on his body were already dry. Seeing that Li Zhongjiu did not seem to turn around to peek, Qi Yanran could not help but change her view of this pervert in front of her. He's quite principled. Although Qi Yanran thought highly of Li Zhongjiu, after she landed on the ground, she directly launched an attack on Li Zhongjiu. She struck out with her palm. The surrounding air vibrated. In the palm, there was a ball of yuan qi fire. If it hit the body, it would explode into pieces in an instant. However, Li Zhongjiu did not seem to have time to turn around. His opponent's palm landed on his body. Bang! The palm lotus suddenly bloomed, but Li Zhongjiu's body could be said to be unscathed. Even his clothes did not cause any damage because his body's defense had absorbed all of the opponent's strength. What? Qi Yanran was shocked when she saw this. Her opponent's defense was beyond her imagination. This move seemed weak, but in fact, it contained a huge destructive power. It was normal for it to directly send people flying. Obviously, when this move appeared, she did not intend to let Li Zhongjiu go. You're the one who started it. Just when Qi Yanran was shocked, Li Zhongjiu had also turned around. He directly struck his opponent's chest with his palm. Although he felt a soft touch, Li Zhongjiu did not care. He did not even need to use yuan qi to directly shatter the opponent's yuan qi shield. Bang! This palm was fierce and decisive. It directly sent Qi Yanran flying and she fell hard on the ground. He had no intention of showing mercy. Even Qi Yanran, who was a third-grade Yuan ancestor, was no match for Li Zhongjiu. Even if Qi Yanran was a Yuan king, she was no match for Li Zhongjiu. However, Qi Yanran could not believe that she had been defeated by Li Zhongjiu with just one move. His strength was so terrifying. Just as Qi Yanran was about to whistle for help, Li Zhongjiu suddenly stopped. A cold light suddenly emerged from the darkness. Swish! A flying knife was directly inserted next to Qi Yanran's ear. If Li Zhongjiu wanted to, this flying knife would have been enough to take her life. Feeling the chill released by the flying knife next to her ear, this was also the first time Qi Yanran felt the threat of death. She, who had been favored since she was young, had never cared about anyone or anything. She only cared about her own cultivation. In her opinion, she was born to be strong. In her eyes, there was no opponent at all. Chapter 399. However, at this moment, this person who was full of pride and arrogance felt that death was right in front of her for the first time. If she had whistled just now, she would have been killed by Li Zhongjiu. Until now, Qi Yanran still did not know who the man in front of her was. If you cooperate with me, I won't kill you. Li Zhongjiu came in front of Qi Yanran. It was not until this moment that Qi Yanran saw Li Zhongjiu's appearance clearly. He was just a young boy, but his eyes seemed to be weather-beaten and could see through everything in the world. However, what Qi Yanran saw most clearly was Li Zhongjiu's chest. It was the symbol of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. You are from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Qi Yanran was surprised. Relatively speaking, the students of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor who came to the Four Seas Medicine Manor naturally became guests. However, now this guest had done such a thing, which was simply unbelievable. Since she knew Li Zhongzhou's identity, it was much easier to deal with him. No matter how deep he hid, Qi Yanran could find him and take revenge for today's incident. Therefore, she temporarily endured it and waited to see what this kid wanted to do. If it was too much, she would not let Li Zhongzhou succeed. Qi Yanran was lying on the ground. Li Zhongzhou bent down and suddenly grabbed Qi Yanran's wrist. The vast flying knife gently cut Qi Yanran's wrist. "What are you doing?" Qi Yanran suddenly exclaimed. However, the stinging pain from her wrist made Qi Yanran frown and suck in a breath of cold air. She had an amulet. If she was stimulated by the outside world, it would automatically activate. However, in front of Li Zhongzhou's flying knife, it did not trigger any reaction. After her wrist was cut, Li Zhongzhou used a jade bottle to catch the blood. During this period, her wrist was still held by Li Zhongzhou. Qi Yanran had never imagined that her body, which had never been touched by a man, would not only be held tightly by her wrist today, but also be cut by him. What kind of person was this? He did not know what it meant to have tender feelings for a woman. Hiss. Qi Yanran's wrist was bleeding for a while, but the wound on her wrist quickly healed itself. After all, she was a Yuan Zhong realm expert. In addition, she was also an alchemist and would usually take some elixirs. Therefore, her body's self-healing ability was also full of strong medicinal power. Seeing this, Li Zhongzhou did not hesitate to make a cut. Qi Yanran wished she could push Li Zhongzhou directly into the dung bucket. Not only did he cut her once, but now he even cut her a second time. Qi Yanran was in great pain. Was he treating her like a beast that would bleed blood? In the process, Li Zhongzhou filled half of the bottle in his hand and walked directly to the medicinal spring. "What are you trying to do? This kind of sacred spring cannot be tarnished." When Qi Yanran saw Li Zhongzhou walking towards the medicinal spring, she suddenly became nervous. Could it be that Li Zhongzhou wanted to destroy this medicinal spring? She was able to possess such talent today because of this medicinal spring. If it was tarnished, wouldn't Qi Yanran's future be ruined? Naturally, she was very nervous. "Sacred spring? I'm afraid you're out of your mind." Li Zhongzhou sneered, then threw the bottle in his hand into the medicinal spring. At the same time, the power of the obsidian fire was hidden in the bottle. "Stop it." Qi Yanran wanted to stop Li Zhongzhou. She flew towards the medicinal spring, but Li Zhongzhou unceremoniously waved his palm. With a terrifying yuan power, he directly sent Qi Yanran flying. With a bang, he fell to the ground and rolled around. He didn't hold back at all in this move. It was a real move. "Lie down. If you make any more noise, I'll kill you." It was the first time that Qi Yanran saw someone looking at her with such a fierce gaze. At this moment, she was reduced from a lofty and ethereal fairy to a person that Li Zhongzhou could manipulate at will. "You're courting death." Qi Yanran was ready to kill Li Zhongzhou at all costs to regain her dignity. However, at this moment, she saw the changes in the medicinal spring. The bottle that was originally floating above suddenly sank. After it sank, a huge explosion suddenly erupted at the bottom of the medicinal spring. Boom! No sound was emitted from this explosion. However, one could clearly sense the vibrations coming from underground. At the same time, a cluster of light erupted from the medicinal spring. It was as if the entire medicinal spring had been illuminated. Qi Yanran also clearly saw that at the bottom of the medicinal spring, there was a huge shadow. It was actually a huge shadow. The moment Qi Yanran saw the shadow, she immediately felt a lingering fear in her heart. There was actually such a monster hiding at the bottom of the medicinal spring. "What is that, 1,000-year blood medicine bug? You're lucky that you haven't been eaten for so long." You're really fierce. You even dared to jump into such a medicinal spring. Li Zongjiu also looked at the pale-faced Qi Yanran with admiration. The blood medicine bug had been hiding at the bottom of the medicinal spring. However, now that it was blown up by Li Zongjiu, it was extremely angry and immediately floated out of the water. Splash! It looked like a caterpillar, but its body was extremely smooth, so it could subdue in the water. This was the effect of the blood medicine bug. If the blood medicine bug was soaked in water, it would merge with the water, causing the surrounding water to have a medicinal property. This medicinal liquid was also very easy to absorb. Some primitive emperors would also soak the blood medicine bug in water and then refine some medicinal liquids with medicinal properties. These medicinal liquids were also very magical when used for healing and cultivation. However, the blood medicine bug was often hidden very deep and was very rare. If Li Zongjiu's mental strength had not sensed the abnormality of this place, he would not have known that there was a blood medicine bug in the depths of the Four Seas Herb Mountain. For an expert, the medicinal liquid soaked in the blood medicine bug had the effect of cultivating. However, for some people with insufficient cultivation, soaking in such an environment for a long time, just like Qi Yanran. Slowly, the blood in Qi Yanran's body would also gradually absorb a kind of poison. The existence of this poison would slowly devour the blood in Qi Yanran's body. A highly toxic poison would be formed in her blood. In the end, she would not be able to leave the medicinal spring. Once she left the medicinal spring, all kinds of symptoms would appear. She would either have to change the blood in her body, or stay in the medicinal spring obediently and be slowly devoured by the blood medicine bug. The blood medicine bug that rushed out was extremely angry. As a blood medicine bug that had cultivated for thousands of years, it could recognize Li Zongjiu at a glance. Because the other person had the aura of its blood medicine bug, the person who attacked must be this human boy. Immediately, the blood medicine bug rushed towards Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu sneered. A mere blood medicine bug with a combat strength of 5 dared to take the initiative to attack him. With a light flick of the flying knife in his hand, it immediately turned into a streamer and rushed forward. Whoosh! The flying knife circled around and easily pierced into the blood medicinal worm's body. It rotated in the blood medicinal worm's body, and with a ding sound, a sparkling and translucent crystal flew out from the worm's body. Swoosh! Li Zongjiu caught the crystal in his hand. The blood medicine bug's body also fell to the ground with a loud bang. Bang! Its huge body fell to the ground. This corpse is a good thing. If I sell it in the black market, I can at least get a good price. Li Zongjiu waved his hand and kept the blood medicine bug in his storage ring. Its huge body disappeared. Li Zongjiu came here because he wanted the blood medicine bug's crystal. This crystal was one of the materials he needed to refine a grade 6 elixir. The blood medicine bug could only be found by chance. Therefore, after discovering it, Li Zongjiu did not let it go. Under normal circumstances, the blood medicine bug would definitely be hidden at the bottom of the medicinal spring. If he wanted to jump down to catch it, it would obviously take a lot of effort. However, by using Qi Yanran's blood as a lure, the blood medicine bug would think that someone killed its offspring. Therefore, Qi Yanran's blood had such an effect. The blood medicine bug valued its offspring very much. If something happened, it would definitely not sit back and do nothing. If it did not show itself, it would be killed by Li Zongjiu. In comparison, the blood medicine bug's combat power was not as strong as the moon-howling heavenly wolf king. At the very least, the moon-howling heavenly wolf king was able to hold on for a while. Even if Li Zongjiu used the vast flying knife, he might not be able to kill the moon-howling heavenly wolf king easily. This showed that he had a certain level of strength. I'm done with my business. If you want to take a bath, do as you wish. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Then, he turned around and left. Qi Yanran was furious. This brat suddenly rushed out and bullied her. Now, he wanted to leave as if nothing had happened. Where would Qi Yanran put her face? However, if she wanted to stop Li Zongjiu, she would not be his opponent even if they fought. Speaking of bullying, Li Zongjiu could be considered to have saved her life. If he did not appear today, Qi Yanran would have died here sooner or later. Even now, it would not be easy to remove the blood poison in her body. You. Do you dare to leave your name? Qi Yanran, who was anxious, quickly said. Why wouldn't I dare? I'm Li Zongjiu. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.